Hello, Lund loyalists. John Lund Unleashed YouTubers, those watching on X and Instagram and listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure you subscribe, like, and turn on your alerts so you never miss a show. And for all things Unleashed, go to johnlundunleashed.com. Live shows, archives, the blog, social media, links, and more. Now likely nursing a hangover. Unshaven, unshowered, and a 50-50 chance of his teeth being brushed. Here's Johnny. Here's Johnny.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. It's a Friday. Oh my God, it snuck up on us. Ironically enough, I was putting this show together last night and this morning, and I thought to myself, it's episode 68. Tolbert's coming on today. It's KBR 68. Saturday show. By the way, no Saturday show tomorrow because my birthday is this weekend, and I'm not, 12 years old. It's my birthday. I need the day off. It's not that. It's just my wife has a plan for the birthday. I don't celebrate birthdays, but she does. So we're going away on Saturday. So I normally do a Saturday show at 10 a.m. if you are new around here, John Lund Unleashed. So no Saturday 10 a.m. show. We're Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. as long as it takes to get everything done. That's what we do. And then 10 a.m. usually on Saturday, select shows, post-game shows. Did something really cool with Damon Bruce yesterday. Larry was on with Larry last night, so you can see me all over the place. But please make sure you subscribe to John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Make sure that you hit the like button, which is good for the algorithm. And also, you hit those alerts so you know when stuff is happening because we go live all the time or certain videos or shorts or all those kind of things. So, again, John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. If you're watching on X and Instagram today, welcome. That is at John Lund Radio. If you move on over to the chat room, we always have a bunch of great people in the chat room, and you can hang out, talk sports and amongst each other. And then I get off on these weird tangents where it says random at the bottom of my chalkboard. Again, if you're new around here, we have a chalkboard that we try to follow best we possibly can. So it is episode 68. Tom Tolbert is going to join the show today, and I will discuss that in a minute. Birthdays, I'm going to discuss birthdays. Mine is this weekend. I'm not a huge fan after a while. The Warriors are back tonight against SAC. We shall discuss. Victor Wembanyama is out for the year. That's too bad for the NBA because he is the next, and we saw it over the weekend. Thanks to the 49ers, I got something to show you real quick before I talk to Tolbert. Juan Soto gives Brett Batty a car for number 22, but I want to show it to you, and cars are awesome, and obviously Brock gave the whole offensive line Toyotas and stuff like that, which I think was like 10 of them at $85,000 a piece, so $850,000. I mean, just awesome. But anyway, lots of stuff to get to. Ton of stuff. That's what we do with the chalkboard. And like I said, we always check in with everybody. And I'll tell you about Tolbert in just a second. But good morning to everyone. Ernie, it is great to see you. Tacky, incredibly to see you. Who else do we have in here today? Todd is here. NorCal Refrigeration and HVAC is here today. Danny, Todd, AJ Cruz. Oh, man, we got a bunch of new people in the room today to hear Tolbert. That is awesome. Scott, good morning to you. Sports fan, love to hear you. My friend, Rosemarie, good morning, good morning, good morning. Everyone have a great Friday. Thank you, Rosemarie, for telling me, for saying that. D-Lou22, our new friend, is here. Hello, Walter. Walter, don't give away the secrets, but I will be honest here in a second. Jazz fan is here. So tons of great people. We always take roll call in the morning. Make sure Lund Loyalists and good morning to our YouTubers, our friends on Instagram and X. Thanks for hanging out with us today. All right, a lot of stuff. We'll have Tolbert in about 20 minutes. So don't leave me because we've got a couple of things to get done before we welcome Tolbert to the show. And just to give you a kind of a once-over as far as Tom and I are concerned. So I got to the Bay in about 2010. I started working at 95.7 The Game when they launched in, I guess, August of 2011. Then we got an opportunity. Agent comes to me and says, hey, they're looking for an afternoon guy to work with Tom Tolbert. I'm like, yeah. So in 2016, Tolbert and I started working together, and then Papa came over from the 49ers, and I was very much in demand. Then they're like, hey, you used to work with Papa. We want you to work with Papa. I said, cool. That was in 2019, and Tom and I have been close ever since, and he's just a great dude. So anyway, wanted to catch up with Tom. His show starts on Monday, the Tom Tolbert Show. So he's on YouTube and all the other places. We've been throwing lots of cool videos together, and in talking to Tom both on and off the air, he is going to be, the show's going to be awesome. And it's going to be totally unfiltered Tom. Not that it wasn't before, but there were certain parameters that we all had to play around as far as the FCC and radio are concerned. And those are going to be removed from Tom. One of the things I love about being in this forum, and you know this if you're a regular viewer or listener, we're on podcasts, of course, on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your favorite podcast. But it's just the freeness of this forum in that I don't have a producer. Like right now, it's 8:12. If I was on KNBR right now, oh, you got to break. You got to break. You got to break. Oh, yeah. And so that's going to be great for Tom. It's great for me because you're into the flow of things and you can talk and play things. And I play a lot of videos and put a bunch of stuff up if you're new. And we just have a lot of good time. And so we're not kind of burdened by, we got to break or we got to do this or we got to do that and all these kind of things. You just have this free forum so you can talk. Interviews aren't 10 or 15 minutes, although Tolbert was famous for, I know we got to go, but I know we got to go, but I know we got to go, but, and then like 30 minutes later, you're still talking to the same guy, which is awesome, but it freaks out and you got advertisers and program directors and everybody's screaming and yelling at you to break. And we're 20 minutes off the clock and blah, 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 blah. So this forum just allows you to be totally free. If you're in a flow with somebody, if you're on a heater, as far as a topic that you're talking about, whatever, you don't have to break and then say, okay, what was I talking about? Or maybe you lose a little bit of steam or whatever the case. So with Tom, what's going to be so great about his show is kind of what I've found in the few months that I've been doing my show, which is you just kind of get in these, you just kind of get rolling, and especially in interviews. And so Tom's going to have the opportunity to talk to a lot of big names in guys like Steve, and I'm sure this is still going to continue. Guys like Steve Kerr, Steve Young, Kyle Shanahan, people like that, where it's not 10 or 15 minutes and then you got to fly. It's, you sit there for an hour and you just all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh my God, I've been talking for an hour. And that's the greatness of Tom. One of the things that are so great about Tom is that things just flow, and he'll ask these questions and a lot of people will allow it, and it's in a casual, it's a fun way. And all of a sudden, an hour blows by and it's like, whoa, the hour just blow by. Like it's going to be really, really cool. And it's a great forum for him. It's a great forum for all of us. But I think especially during interviews with Tom or storytelling, which I get into a ton of different stories that I forgot I even had in my brain. And I'm telling all these stories all the time and they just kind of pop up. So could you imagine the stories that Tom has? And I know a lot of them, but he'll even realize stories that he wasn't able to tell on the air because they're long and all these different things happen. And maybe you have to kind of edit that story and those kind of things. That's not going to be the case with Tom. So it's going to be a really cool show. Make sure on Monday that you are there. I'm not sure, and he's not even sure what time they're going to start. So that's why you got to have your alerts on with Tom's show, I'm sure. And I'll keep you up to date on what's going on with Tommy as well. But he's as good as ever. It's going to be a ton of fun. I know that they're going to do it on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then select other days as well. And then in terms of our show, I think we're going to do something weekly with Tom. And so I've been, holding on to this for a long time, and people have been sitting there going, what about Tom? What about Tom? What about Tom? What about Tom? Where's Tom? What's Tom? And I'm like, in due time. And I've spoken to him a lot of times. We even had beers a couple of weeks ago. And so I haven't had an opportunity to let it all out because it wasn't my place to do that. So anyway, we'll talk to Tom in about, I'm going to hardline myself. Can I get through all the rest of this in 15 minutes? Likely not, but we're going to do it. 8:30 for Tom. All right. Birthdays. My birthday is this weekend. And one of my biggest regrets from my first marriage was my son, George, who you all know is 21 years old, blah, blah, blah. And I was working in Dallas at the time. I was working for ESPN right across from Jerry World, by the way, just staring at it being built. And one year, my wife, unbeknownst to me at the time, brings this cake. And I hadn't told anybody it was my birthday at work. So I'm just not a birthday person. My wife, we do like a month. It's my birthday month. Like her birthday's in May. It's a birthday month. And she'll have a thing with the girls and we'll go out of town and we'll do dinners and we'll do parties and we'll do, it's a month worth of celebration. That's totally fine. Some people are like that. Me, it's like, I don't even want to acknowledge the fact that it's my birthday. I got a text from my mom this morning, which, that's fairly important. And so I texted her back and everything else. I mean, there's that. And my wife right away is like, happy birthday. She knows how I feel about my birthday, but she's cool about it. But one of the biggest mistakes that I would just tell you that even if you're like me and you hate your birthday, you cannot do this. So she brings a cake to work. I'm working in Dallas. I'm the programmer and I'm on the air. So I have an office, and she walks in with this thing with, George, and he's got balloons. And I don't know if I was having a bad day or what, but I was like, get out. No balloons, no cake. Cause then everybody comes in and they were not mad at me, but the whole staff. And when you kind of run things, they're just, boss, you didn't tell us, me as a boss, you didn't tell us it was your birthday. And so everybody's, feeling bad. And why didn't you tell us it was your birthday? And then I'm embarrassed and she's got a cake. And then so I tell her, get out. And I get home, and I remember driving home going, oh, this is so, because people are just trying to be nice to you. So anyway, I'm not a big birthday guy. I'm not a big look at me guy, despite what I've done for the majority of my adult life. But you got to let other people celebrate your birthday. I've come to that conclusion that, we'll go out for like appetizers. We're not going to go crazy. We're leaving for the weekend. But you got to let other people celebrate your birthday. I'm just not a big birthday guy. So that's kind of how it is. But thank you for the happy birthday wishes. It's not that I'm mad about it or anything, or I don't take birthday wishes well or anything. It's just like, I don't know. I'm one of those people that just like get through the day. Get through the day. Don't make it about you. Just get through the day. Where, like I said, we celebrate my wife's birthday for a month. A month. Easy a month. Maybe more. She's already starting to talk to me about it, and it's not till May. So anyway, that's my birthday thing. Welcome Warriors back. And here's the deal. I'm going to show you a little bit on the Warriors. Let's see what's going on as far as they go. Now here, let me show you the standings first. And then Tom and I are going to talk about this as well, so stay for that. But here's what faces the Warriors right now. So this Victor Wembanyama injury, which we'll get into in just a second, it's not an injury, it's a blood clot. And they're 24-29, but they just got De'Aaron Fox going. And I thought maybe San Antonio would be somebody that we're going to be a problem. They've got 29 losses. The Warriors have 27. That's how I look at things. You can always get more wins. You can't erase losses. So you look at the loss column when you're looking at standings, and the Spurs are 2 back. So now without him, they could potentially be a lottery team. And that's scary because, Cooper Flagg or somebody like that, all of a sudden the Spurs are going to drop into the lottery. And if they get lucky like they did when they had David Robinson, all of a sudden they had Tim Duncan, the Spurs are going to be a major problem. Then they're going to be a major problem anyway. But while some people think, oh, wow, okay, Victor's out and they're not going to challenge the Warriors this year, well, that is a fact. They're going back into the lottery now. And if they get like a top pick, oh, boy, that's going to be a major problem down the road. But anyway, that's down the road. The Suns and Kevin Durant, who said he didn't want to come here because he didn't want to move in the middle of the season, which I don't buy at all because he used to live here and that would be an easy transition. They're 26-29, 2 games back of the Warriors in the loss. I don't see anything big for them in the second half. So I guess my point in saying these two things is, Portland, Utah, and the Pelicans stink. Can Phoenix or San Antonio scare the Warriors and knock them completely out of the playoffs? No, I don't believe that because San Antonio's hurt and Phoenix just isn't very good. They play the Kings tonight with identical records. That's big. The Mavericks right there, they could slide. They don't have Anthony Davis. They traded Luka. I don't know if you knew they traded Luka, but they did. The Timberwolves are weird to me. That was a weird trade for Cat. They're hanging around. The Clippers, I don't know how they're doing it. Norman Powell's having a great year. And, of course, you have Harden and Kawhi gets paid $50 million to sit on the bench. The Lakers, since they got Luka, and everybody else is panicking about that, just relax. I think he's shooting 36%. He's an off-ball guy. They can't coexist, or we'll see. We'll see. I still wouldn't want to see him in the playoffs. And then you got the young guys in the Rockets, Grizzlies, and Thunder. The Nuggets aren't a great matchup for the Warriors. My whole premise with the Warriors in the second half has been this. If they can somehow, and I don't know if they can, but if they can somehow get to the 6, which again, lost column only 3 back with 27 to play. So it's very doable. And the way that everybody's talking about Jimmy Butler, like all of a sudden he's the god of free throws. So we'll see what Jimmy Butler is and what he brings to the table long term. 4 games is not a great sample size, but it's all we got. And he's giving them a shot in the arm. There's no question. But if they can get to the 6, as it sits right now, 6-3 in the first round, I'm getting ahead of myself, but play with me for just a second on this. 6-3 would be would be Memphis right now. That's a young team that is really good, but they haven't done anything in the playoffs. The Warriors could win that round. If you go the next round after that, then you're looking at Denver. I don't like that. But if somehow it goes Houston, then the Grizzlies, there's young teams. Oklahoma City hasn't won anything. Do I think they're going to go anywhere? I don't, but I do think they could beat one of the teams in the first round if they were a 6, like a Memphis or a Houston, who's a young team with not a lot of playoff experience. They could beat them. And then you're looking at the Lakers and the Nuggets. I don't love that matchup, so maybe they're a one and done. If they're a play-in team, I hate that because they just haven't had success doing it, and it just matters who you're playing and what the matchup is. And say, for example, Dallas, you're playing them in the first round. Well, Anthony Davis is a monster. You struggle against Anthony Davis forever. And even though I don't think Dallas is great, they could beat you in a one game kind of a deal. Minnesota, I don't think is great. They could do it. If Phoenix somehow got in and Durant was hot, Durant and Booker on a given night, then you're out of the playoffs. So I hate the play-in, even though the NBA is always trying to create these sudden death and one and doneers. So I don't love that situation there, but that's what they have. So as far as the second half is concerned, stay out of the play-in. They could win a round. If they got more than that, I would be surprised. So that's my prognosis for the Warriors in the second half. Give me your thoughts. And again, we'll talk to Tommy about it at the bottom of the hour. As far as the schedule, I always like to break down the NBA into 10-game increments because looking at everything's too big. So at Sacramento, as I said tonight, very big game because they're tied. Dallas, no Anthony Davis. There's no excuse to lose that game. There was no excuse to lose that game in Dallas when they were in complete disarray. The owner's getting booed. There's no Anthony Davis, and Kyrie beat you basically 1-on-5. So you got to win that game. Charlotte stinks, although they beat the Lakers the other night. LeBron's foot is all of a sudden better. Wow. Orlando's got injuries. Philly's got injuries. Charlotte, I just told you. New York, and then you start on a bit of a road trip right there with Orlando, Philly, Charlotte, New York. So you never know. And New York's a back end of a back-to-back Monday, Tuesday. So that New York game's probably a built-in loss. Brooklyn stinks. Then you come home for Detroit and Portland. So those are the next 10 for the Warriors, and it's huge. How they get out of the gate here and to keep the positive momentum around Jimmy is absolutely massive. So tonight becomes a massive game because you're tied. The rest of those games, the road trip is obviously big. But as you look at that, the only daunting team in that road trip is New York, and especially because it's on a back-to-back. You have time between every other game but that one. And then coming home to Detroit and Portland, there's no excuse not to win those games. So if I looked at it just real quick, I think you should be, if you want to get to the 6th seed, remember, I don't think this team is great, but if you want to get to the 6th seed, this has got to be something like an 8-2 10-game stretch. Can they do that? Don't know. But everybody's telling me how great Jimmy is. Draymond Green saying they're going to win a championship. So if you're going to win a championship, you got to be like 8-2, 9-1 in that stretch because you've got to get up to the 6. You're not going anywhere. And I know that Jimmy, when he was in Miami, dragged the Heat to the NBA Finals from the play-in. That's not happening. That's not happening for this team. So that's what I think. Give me your thoughts on that. Chat line is wide open. Hit me up at John Lund Radio on X. You can give me your thoughts on the second half of the season for the Warriors. And again, when we talk to Tom in about 7-8 minutes, we will talk about that quite a bit. Victor Wembanyama, I just went through that on the chalkboard. The thank you of the 49ers is very, very cool. So I got to give you a little backstory on this. So when I was out at KNBR, I got a call from a lot of people. It was very, very cool. You can find out who your friends are when things like that happen. And one of the people who called was the director of broadcasting for the 49ers, who's become a very good friend of mine. His name's Bob Sargent. And I worked for, with and for the 49ers since I got to the Bay, but more specifically, when I went over to KNBR in 2016, I did pre and post for the Niners. And in the last few years on the network, I did the halftime show as well. And so I got a lot of friends with the 49ers, and Bob's one of the best ones. And so yesterday, it being my birthday weekend, unbeknownst to me, my wife comes walking into the studio. Again, if you're new around here, I have a studio adjacent to my house, so I'd never have to go inside, and they never have to hear me or see me, which is nice for our marriage. It works out well. And so she comes in, and she's got a big smile on her face, and she goes, "There's something at the door for you." I'm like, "Someone at the door? Like the police, the FBI?" And she's like, No. Something good. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I walk out there and I look, and it's this big thing, and it's completely, let me see if I can move out of the way here. Am I doing this right? Hang on. I'm moving this over. I thought I had that settled well, but there you go. Push this out of the way. Hang on. Oh, cool. So they give me a 49 Lund jersey, Niners jersey, and it's framed professionally. It'll be the nicest thing in here. I don't know where I'm going to put it because it's gigantic. But as you can see there, my microphone is kind of in the way. But there's Lund 49, and it's perfectly nicely framed. It's got a big SF logo at the bottom. I mean, this thing's big time. It's nice. It's like, it's not some cheesy thing, a bunch of cheesy things like I have in the studio. It's something that's really nice. And so anyway, I just wanted to thank the Niners, thank Bob. I mean, it's really, really cool. And he had called me afterwards and said, "Hey, we want to do something nice. We loved working with you, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to, we're going to send something to you and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, yeah. And I kind of forgot about it. And it was my birthday weekend. And all of a sudden this thing shows up at the door, and my wife's all giddy about it. So it's really cool. And so anyway, and I got to get it professionally hung because I hang things, as you can see behind me, like sideways and weird ways and all this kind of stuff. But it's very cool. So thanks to the 49ers. Thanks to Bob Sargent. Thanks to everybody over there. Had a tremendous time working with and for the 49ers, and that will continue. It just won't continue as the official, as KNBR is the flagship of the 49ers. So, obviously I'm going to be down there. I'm going to be covering stuff, interviewing players, and it actually gives me a lot more freedom, but it's just a really cool gesture. Pretty stoked about it. It's going to be one of the nicest things I have in here. And when you've been doing this for 30 years, as I have been doing, you accrue quite a bit of memorabilia, and that's going to be one of the coolest things I have, just because I have so many friends with the 49ers. I dig them, and that was just a really cool gesture for the 49ers. So anyway, there's that. All right, one more thing before I told you 8:30, we got 3 minutes. This is going to time out perfectly. No, I did not get a Jimmy G jersey. Thank you. I did have that. Nobody wants that Jimmy G thing that was like $300 that my wife bought. She bought a framed Jimmy G and it was autographed. And it was like, it's anybody can have this. And the only person who came, who said, yeah, I'll take it, was some guy like 400 miles away. He's like, can you send it to me? I'm like, can I send it to you? It's going to cost like $200 to send it to you. I just want to give it to somebody because I don't want to put it in the studio anymore. So anyway, yeah. I can't do that. I'm not going to send you that, but this is cool. I mean, this is really cool. Not that the Jimmy thing isn't, if you were a Jimmy fan, you could have it, but I'm not going to spend $200 to send it to you. So anyway, all right. One more thing before we get into Dr. Tolbert, and I got to do this quick because I told you 8:30 and 8:30 means 8:30. So, when guys pay for the jersey that they, a number, for example, Juan Soto wanted 22, Brett Baty of the Mets had 22. So they give them something usually. Sometimes it's a vacation. Sometimes it's a car. Sometimes it's a new I've heard kitchen remodels, money straight up, all this kind of stuff. So Juan Soto gives Brett Baty a Chevrolet. Now, I don't want to seem like I'm a jerk here, but Juan Soto signed a contract with $500-600 million, whatever the heck it was. And it wasn't quite Ohtani 700, but it's like $500-600 million, 565, something like that. So the guy's got a lot of money. Nothing against Chevrolet. This just seems like a promotional thing to me, and he got this free. So, again, maybe I'm being a jerk here, but take a listen and tell me what you think.
I told you I got it. You're driving and everything. Oh, my gosh, man. It's all yours. Look at this thing. You put the bow on, too? This is sick, bro. I just appreciate it. Thank you for the number, I really appreciate it. Yeah. It's the first one I ever wear, so I want to give you something nice, something nice that you can remember. Is definitely really nice. Tell me how I look in the driver's seat. I gotta see. And bro, this is crazy.
All right, I don't want to seem like I'm a jerk, and then Mike just popped up here and said it was a Tahoe. So you're probably right, something like that. Let me see a bunch of people said, oh, it's a Tahoe. It's a Tahoe. Okay. So yeah, there's Mike. So it's a Tahoe. Cool. And believe me, for me or you or anybody, that would be amazing. And look, whatever you want to give up for the number 22. And I know why guys are attached to their numbers and everything like that. I was an athlete. I know it's hard to believe, but at one point you just get attached to a number and you want to have that number. So I get it. And believe me, I'm not comping myself to a professional athlete in any way, shape, or form. But he gives him a Chevy Tahoe. And just through the fact that that just seemed like a promotion to me. Like, I know Brock in NFL standards doesn't make a ton of money. So for him to do a big thing for Toyota, who he's a spokesman for, and there's $850,000 of Toyota trucks and Tundras and whatever that was. And that was a promotional thing, and he's not going to pay $1 million. He makes that in his salary, even though he does well off the field. So that was a promotional thing. I get it. Juan Soto has a $565 million contract and is giving him a Chevy Tahoe. Am I being a jerk about that? Because I'm kind of like, dude, like that's got to be like a high end, you know what I mean? Like revved up sports car or something like that. Maybe, I don't know what the Tahoe costs you. What's the Tahoe cost you? $100,000? So, I mean, and I don't think it cost him anything. It was probably, by the way, this is your Tahoe brought to you by your Greater New York Chevy dealers. It just seemed very promotional to me. It seemed like a very basic kind of a Toyota, or excuse me, a Chevy, like, off the bat, you're like, well, yeah, it seems like a pretty stock Chevy to me. It wasn't like it had cool wheels or any kind of bells and whistles on it and everything. Like Brock stuff, man, that stuff was all high end. Like, it was the highest end stuff. That seemed like a basic Tahoe, which maybe I'm being a jerk because it's only, it's a jersey number. But still, I mean, you can hold these guys for ransom for those kind of things. And Brett Baty, I mean, it's not like he's making a ton of money. He kind of shuffles between, the majors and minor leagues. So I understand that. So it's cool, and it's a good gesture. A, I don't think he bought it. B, I think it's from a Chevy dealer, local Chevy dealer. I think he just pulled it right off the lot and said, fine, whatever one. Just, yeah. I mean, it's got leather interior, probably doesn't have cloth, and it's probably got a few bells and whistles on it and that kind of stuff. I get it. But it wasn't like, they drove it up and it was this mean machine and it was all like, whoa, dude. So anyway, maybe I'm being a jerk about that. But, if I was giving up my number 22 to Juan Soto, I'm thinking, yeah, base model. So I'm saying people are going, yeah, base model. All right. So David knows the number. So Tahoe starts at $59,000 according to Google. You're the man for doing that, by the way, for looking that up. So look, I don't know. Basic is basic. I bet that car is probably, if they start at 59, I'll take your word for it. I'm not going to Google it. But if they start at 59, it's probably like $75,000 vehicle. That's nice. I mean, 75,000 for your number 22, that seems fair. But I just thought, if you really care, like at spring training, somebody probably called him and goes, he gave you 22, you got to do something. Juan Soto was like, damn it. Like when you forget somebody's birthday or you forget somebody's anniversary and you're like, you go get Safeway flowers and your wife knows they're Safeway flowers. Like that Tahoe is Safeway flowers. Maybe I'm wrong, but they live in a different world than we do. Like pimp that thing up. Even if it's going to be a Tahoe, it's got to have cool wheels and it's got to be like that. That was a pretty basic, like, again, I didn't see the inside. I mean, at the end we did, I guess there's leather interior. I'm looking at it right now. It's got leather interior, but it's not like, it's got pretty stock wheels. It's not a lot of bells and whistles on the whole thing, but anyway, maybe I'm just being a jerk because he gave it to him. That's kind of nice, but anyway, okay. It's cool. All right, let's do this. So I'm going to give you full disclosure because Walter already let the cat out of the bag. I was debating this morning, whether I was going to just play this off as live or tell you the truth. But you know what? You're my friends. We hang out every single day on John Lund Unleashed, which you should subscribe, put on your alerts and all those kind of things. Listen, blah, blah, blah. Go to johnlundunleashed.com. I was going to just be, hey, Tom's here. With pulling back the curtain a little bit, which Walter, our producer, my former producer at KNBR, already did. Tom doesn't get up at 8:30 in the morning. Tom doesn't get up at 9:30 in the morning. Tom's probably up around 10 every single day. And so when I talked to Tom and said, dude, you gotta come on the show on Friday because your show starts on Monday, the Tom Tolbert show right here on YouTube and X, and it's going to be on everything else as well, X, Instagram, all those places. So the Tom Tolbert show starts on Monday, but it sure as hell isn't going to start in the morning, and it's not going to start before 10 o'clock, and it's probably not going to start before noon. That's just my thought, because we talked about this actually. We talked about on the air, off the air. I can't remember because we talked for a long time about a lot of different things. But so we did this late in the afternoon yesterday for full disclosure because Tom doesn't get up before like 10. So I was debating whether I was going to play this, and really the final thing, because even coming on the air, I was like, oh, how am I going to do this? Is that Walter goes, Tom ain't up, and like you all know Tom. Tom and I did 3 to 7 together. Ultimately, Tom did 2 to 6. He and Ralph for years. Like he did afternoon drive, and Tom likes to stay up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning watching games, doing all the things Tom does, drinking some beer, gambling, do all these things. He's not a degenerate. I'm not trying to say that, but Tom doesn't get up before 10. And so to try to pass off to you, the sweet, clean viewer, the sweet, clean listener, if you're listening on the podcast, my friend who comes into this studio every single day to talk to me, and because I don't have any friends and I tie a giant YouTube pork chop around my neck so that you'll play with me, I thought to myself, I'm not going to deceive the people. So late in the afternoon yesterday, this is probably like 4 or 5 o'clock, I spoke with Tommy about his show, about how it's going to go, just by in general, all the things that we do. So here is Tommy. And at some point, and I just saw what Daniel said there. That's why I was going to try to pass it off, but I didn't like I was ignoring the people. Damn, I wanted him to answer some Arizona Wildcat questions. Believe me, if you get me those, I'll get him to him. We'll get Tommy live. It's just that, like I said, if I do the show in the morning, like if I do an afternoon show, he would probably do it live. But like right now, I'm going 8 till whenever in the morning Pacific time, and Monday through Friday, and Tommy's not getting up before then. So anyway, it's not like anything has happened between then and now, and you're going to enjoy the interview just as much. But I just wanted to be full disclosure to everybody. All right, here it is. Here's Tom and I having a conversation, catching up. And this is, I think, the first time that he's done anything extended since we both left on the very same day from KNBR. All right, you've been asking for it for a long time. Where's Tolbert? Where's Tolbert? Where's Tolbert? We're not Siamese twins. I don't know where he is. He's his own person. I speculated to all of you that he was in Vegas probably. He was in Vegas, actually, and I don't know what's going on. So what's going on, and how are you? And you're looking good. And before we get to anything, background is tremendous. The Tolbert mask that's a legend. The Michael Myers mask, right?
So the mask behind me, everybody knows Michael Myers mask. And over my shoulder to my left is the backyard. So there's a walkway back there, and we have our garbage cans back there. So I just put up that mask yesterday. I was like, what am I going to do with this mask? Let me just stick it in there. I'll stick my Niner helmet in there and my little shitty Arizona helmet in there. Hopefully I'm getting a regular size Arizona helmet. As bad as they are, they're still my squad. And then a bunch of books that I went to a book fair and got, just like throw them up there.
So you look smart like everybody else?
Yeah. I like to look learned. So hopefully it works. But anyway, Haley's taking the trash out last night, and she puts it in the receptacle, and then she walks back, and out of the corner of her eye, she got the Michael Myers mask, and she said, "That scared the hell out of me."
Well, what's great is I wonder if you ever, because you're famous for your walks and you've been doing all the promos and the Tom Tolbert show's coming up. We're going to get into that in a second. You ever walk around that neighborhood with that mask on, like just for the heck of it?
I did. I did
I
actually put the mask on, and I walked with it during COVID. I come to find out that's not the type of mask they were asking for.
Oh, that's not the mask.
Everybody else wearing regular masks like T90s or whatever the hell those things are, and I just said, "Well, it's a mask. I should be good." And people were like, "Bro, that's not it. That's not the mask
that would have been
we're looking
amazing.
for."
Like, "Oh, you got to wear a mask to come in this store." It's like, okay, there's my mask. Oh,
the funny part about it, though, the Michael Myers mask did as good a job as the regular mask in not transmitting COVID. Come to figure, who knew at the time that you could wear just a stupid mask and you're all going to be good anyway?
Amazing. All right, so here's how it went down. You and I got fired on the same day, and I knew that when I heard, so it was about 5-2, and I thought, well, if Tolbert got fired in the morning, there's no friggin' way that I'm surviving this thing. So I was just waiting, and like all day long, I'm waiting on the show. I'm doing the show, and I'm thinking, when are they going to break it to me? Like, what's the deal here? So of course, at about 1:59, we were going to do like a 1-minute segment because we're running late, like we always were. And at 1:59, Holler pops his head in the studio and he goes, "Hey, Larry wants to see you." And then, they did their song and dance and we're trying to shake my hand and go, "It's not you, it's us." And I'm like, "I know it's you. So just leave me alone and tell whatever." So I leave and then talk to you a couple of days later. I'm like, "I heard you just got fired." And anyway, so long story short, all that stuff happened. Everybody seems to be going out on YouTube and doing all these things. And I've had a ball with it, and you're starting up on Monday. So what's going on? What are you doing?
Well, I knew something was going on that day when Holler's hair looked halfway decent and he wasn't wearing a hat. I go, okay, we're probably screwed.
What's going on here?
I go, God, he's wearing a collared shirt too. I go, oh man, we're toast.
Yeah, that's bad.
So, no, I love Mike, and obviously I wish him nothing but the best. But yeah, so I've just been doing nothing basically. Come to find out, I wish there were 16 hours in a day, not 24. It's like I'm trying to kill a day, and it's like it's harder to kill a day than I thought. I thought it'd be really great just sitting around doing nothing. Apparently, I have my limits. So I'll get up in the morning, take Lou for a walk, and we'll go walk, anywhere between 2-5 miles, and then come home, sit around, and then usually I'll cook a couple times a week, maybe 3 times a week, and get that started. And then I'm like, okay, now what do I do? Okay, we still got like an hour until the 4:00 game starts.
Right.
And it's a crappy ass Wizards game, so I don't want to watch that. I mean, who wants to watch a damn Wizards game? So until the good games start, maybe it'll be 5:00. That's it. That's been my days. I went and visited my mom in Vegas. People saw the post we put up when I was at bingo.
Bingo looks sweet.
My mom loves to play bingo, and usually her and Haley play. So I played the first day and the last day because I just can't. Because I don't play. They play the paper. They got the paper bingo too. So they got the dauber and everything, and they're daubing it up.
What do you even win? Like when you win, like what's at stake for bingo? I've never even played.
So it depends. You have like 3 different cards. You have a green card, a red card, and a blue card. And you got I don't know how many cards I ended up having, but it's all on a little touch screen. Yeah. And the green cards are worth more than the red card than the blue. Well, it'll show you the free square is green or red or blue.
Yeah.
So I just sit there and watch it. Like I'm doing nothing. I'm just sitting there waiting for the screen to go bling, because then I know I'm cased.
Right.
And then it'll tell you if you won. So then
what do you even have to do? Just drink? And was Bud Light the best thing they had?
That was the best they had. It was either that or Michelob Ultra, which is hard water. It's not even beer. And my mom loves Michelob Ultra. I was like, well, just call it what it is, hard water. And it's like it's alcoholic. It's like water with alcohol in it, basically.
Right.
But I had no choices at that point. So I had one Bud Light to last me an hour. I could have walked around the casino and see if maybe they had a craft beer. But let's be real, it's a place called Arizona Charlie's. So I don't think they're dipping their toes into craft beer per se. So yeah, no, it was more about just spending time with Haley and my mom and just hanging out with them, because it is, whew, man. Like, I think the median age in there is dead, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I mean, I could have been, well, Haley was definitely the youngest person in there, but I might have been the next youngest person in there. So, but yeah, I mean, look, it's like fishing. If you go, I'm not a huge fisherman, but if you're catching, then it's going to be fun.
Right.
Who doesn't like going fishing when you're catching?
If you win bingo, what is it, $50? I mean,
last session we played, I hit 2, one for 50, one for 150. Haley hit 1 for 125, and she might have hit 3, one for 80, one for 20. So we ended up covering our costs. We ended up doubling what we paid. So everybody broke even. Well, except for me, because I paid for everybody, and then I paid them out 1/3 each. I'm like, wait a minute, that didn't work out all that well for me. I go, well, everybody's getting a rebate, and I'm getting jack crap. I go, I'm the only one that ends up losing here. So, but no, we had a good time. It was fun. Her and Haley played like 3 or 4 days, and I played with them twice. So, yeah, I mean, it was a good time. I just thought it was funny, just the juxtaposition between bingo and what I was doing when I was 21, 22. I mean, we used to go to Lou. It's the first time, okay? We're not going to go through this every single time I'm doing a show with you. She's like, oh, yeah, you are, actually.
I missed you. We're going to do this. I'm going to jump on you.
Everyone's going to get to know Lou.
Yeah.
But so when I was 18, we used to go to Vegas 3 years before we were legal, and we'd go on these tennis trips. It was a shuttle bus that left L.A., and we'd take our rackets with us just so they thought we were playing tennis, but we never played tennis. And for the weekend, we brought $40. $40 had to last you the weekend. And we all split a room. So it was like $19 at the Stardust. 5 dudes were sleeping in one room. 2 got beds, 3 on the floor. Or if you wanted to share a bed, you could share a bed. And I was like, okay, look, I'm not taking the floor. I go, I'm getting a bed. I'll pay the $12. Everybody else can split the 7. So that's Lou, of course. Lou, you're going to have to go out, okay? See, there she is. So, and then early on in my career.
Wait a minute, I was getting attention from you all the time.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want this.
And then, you go through the days when before I was in the NBA, you didn't have enough money, but you had some money.
Yeah.
And the only machine that paid was ATM at 12:01. You're waiting there at 12:01 to be able to stick your card in again to get some money. And then you also go through days where you're like, God, I've run out of money. I don't have much to spend. What should I do? So you go to the bar.
Yep.
You give the bartender 20, right? Or you put 20 in the machine and you get a free beer.
Yeah.
So what I'd do is I'd put 20 in the machine. He'd give me the free beer. I'd cash out, get the 20 back, and then walk around the casino drinking my beer, and then go to a different bartender, put $20 in, he'd give me beer. So, I was just killing time at that point, drinking as many beers as I could. But to all that, running around, staying up for like 2 days in a row, gambling and doing all kinds of fun stuff with my buddies, to playing bingo, like that's what it's come to.
Bro, it is. It's totally true. And by the way, in Vegas, you used to be able to you didn't spend any money on drinking. You were just, they knew you were going to lose money. Now it's like $20.
Yep.
That's a per beer. Like, it's unbelievable.
No
but
doubt.
Okay. So what are you going to be doing? Like, how often you doing it? What are you going to be doing? I know I've talked to you
We're
about
putting this dog out. Hold
so
on a second.
This is what's so great about this format. You can do it like dog barking, whatever, say what you want. I mean, it's great. So hang on a second. Tolbert's going to join us again in a moment. So
I gave her a chance. Like, I was trying to be nice, and I was like, okay, I'll give you a chance. But she just, the problem is I'm not the only one in the room. And now she's like, oh, somebody else can play with me. Right. Here's my toy. Play with me. Oh, you're not going to play with me? I'll bark then. Exactly. How about that? So, look, people that watch the show, they're going to get to know Lou.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to get to know Kit. They're going to get to know Pip. They may even see the bunny. Bunny may make an appearance. So who knows? I would say the turtle make an appearance, but the turtle died like a month ago. So R.I.P. Tiny. Yeah. I don't think turtles are supposed to sink to the bottom and stay there for 2 days, which basically is what happened. Wow. So that's how I found Tiny dead. Haley's like, is he supposed to be at the bottom of the tank?
Yeah, I don't think so.
All the time. I go, yeah, I don't think so. And then I walked in on Cute. Cute was the hamster, and Cute was like, Cute was like stiffer than a 20-year-old on Viagra. I mean, this guy was like just a board. He was straight bored. I was like, damn, Cute. Sorry about that. And Q was there, but Q was too. Q lived a full hamster life. Yeah,
that's 2 years is really long because all they try to do the whole time is
and everything.
that's it.
So we had the farm over here. We still kind of got the farm, the dog, the cats, and the bunny. So, but they all get along. They all go out in the backyard together and just kind of like do their thing. So yeah, no animal fiascos.
Here's what you're gonna dig about this whole thing. By the way, I want to ask you what you're gonna be doing and when you're gonna be doing it and all this kind of thing. Here's what you're gonna totally dig. And this is really good for you. No breaks, no producers yelling at you to break. If you're in the middle of like a thought, you don't have to break. None of that kind of stuff. You can do what you want, say what you want. Like for people who don't know, infamous David Duke jokes. Like you can tell those endlessly. No one's going to cancel you. There's no one to cancel you. Like, so it's going to be full on Tolbert because what's great is I'll be in the middle of something and I'll think to myself, God, I didn't even realize, but I just did like 20 minutes and it was great because I had one thought in my mind and I never had to stop. And then every once in a while, I'd think to myself, God, what will the Giants say if I say this? What will the Niners say if I say this? What will the Warriors say if I say this? Like, you can just say and do whatever you want because you can break when you want. And it's just really refreshing. And you get like feedback right away and you don't have to spend like, you'll dig this and you'll be, well, first of all, you'll be awesome at it just because you're Tolbert and you'll be awesome at it. But it's just this whole thing of just being able to just kind of do top of mind, flow of your mind kind of thing is like right up your alley.
Yeah, and I can bring back my strope-on joke too to a whole new audience.
That was so bad.
I can't believe you guys are that. You could not
back in the day.
You guys could not come around to that as a funny joke.
But you would never even let it go either. Like,
no, of course. Well, it's funnier to me because it wasn't funny to you.
Just because you kept bringing it up.
It became funny to me to keep saying it, and then it just became a bit unto itself. Right. For you, Tim Webb, Brian Smith did not think it was funny, and I kept telling you guys that it's a funny joke, not just because of the name, but the juxtaposition of the name, and it was supposed to be Kids Weekend. That's what you guys missed, and that's where I thought my genius really shone through. Yeah, and you guys,
you're gonna love it. It's like you can whatever. There's nobody for like we would always just like, oh no, I can't believe you said that. And then it's like. Yeah. But it's the people you like and the people that follow you and people who think it's funny and like there's no like, oh, I'm going to cancel that guy or I mean, sometimes if you want to maintain your friendship with Steve Kerr, it might be different, but still you can say do whatever.
Well, look, I mean, people always like that would always make Tim nervous, right? When I'd say like a Utah Jazz, the crowd at a Utah Jazz game was whiter than a David Duke cocktail party. He'd go, oh no, you just said that. I can't. Oh, I better. Hand like hovering over the dump button, like, oh, I better get that. I was like, just lighten up, Francis.
Exactly.
I mean, give me a break.
Well, it might be like when you guys first, like when you and Ralph first started, and it was just like you could say stuff and do stuff. Like I've been doing this as long as you, just all over the country, and you could do stuff. But nowadays, like, oh, you can't do that anymore. Like I used to reminisce on bits I used to be able to do and things we used to be able to do. Like we had a thing during football season one year where if a guy would lose a bet, he'd have to come in like a guy got a tattoo, a guy got hit with a stun gun from a cop that we brought in. We had a naked guy. I guess he had a like some sort of a banana hammock on, but then he ran and we shot paintballs at him. Like, and nowadays like radio stations would be like, oh my God, we're gonna get sued. We got this guy with pepper spray and we sprayed him. He lost the game, and we sprayed him, and he had to wait till the pepper spray ran into his eyes, and he freaked out, and he started screaming on the air. I'm blind. And our attorneys ran downstairs. He goes, finally, he goes, what are you guys doing? The guy was going to sue us, and we were like, oh no, it's just a radio bit. Like you can't do that anymore. But like now, you just pretty much do whatever you want. It's great.
That's good. I like that. That suits me just fine.
I mean, you're not going to shoot a guy with pepper spray in the eye, but you know what I'm saying. Like you could
I wouldn't think
whatever you want.
I didn't know where you get pepper spray.
We had a friend of the show that was a cop, and so anytime we would
a friend of the show that happened to have pepper.
Yeah, and so we'd be like, okay, we're gonna do a bet this week. What can we do? And our cop friend would text us during the show and go, I could hit somebody with pepper spray in the forehead, and then it would roll into their eyes, and they would freak out. And we're like, that sounds cool. Or like we had a guy, it was wasn't a stun gun. What were those other things that the police shoot at you?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
One of those things. I lost a bet and a taser. And what they did was they put they clamped two of these things to my nipples. and they shot the taser at me, and it made me fall down. They put a helmet on my head because they go, "You're going to fall down right away." And it was like a concrete floor in the radio station. I go, "I'm not going to fall." All of a sudden, they went right to the floor, and I hit my head, and I had a helmet on. It's like you could do stuff like that back in the day. A guy got a tattoo. We shaved a guy's eyebrows, the paintball thing. After we probably did, I don't know, 8 or 10 weeks of that college football season, they go, "That's enough." Like our attorneys just literally just goes, "That bit's over. Like we're going to get sued." So, radio's not what it used to be.
Bro, I hate to break it to you, but they could have just put it anywhere in your body. They didn't actually have to, unless you wanted it on your nipples.
Well, I guess.
I always thought you were a little weird anyway. So maybe you said
want it on the nipples.
Come on, put it on my nipples, baby. Put it there. No, just your arms. We can do it on your arms.
Yeah, I don't know why they did the nipples. Now that I think
really
about it.
prefer the nipples. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I did ask for the nipples.
Bring an ice cube in here so you can get a good clamp. That's what I'm looking for.
So what are you going to be like? When are you on? What are you doing? When are you debuting? What's happening?
I think I think it's going to be this Monday. So it's going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay.
And then, like you, we'll be on YouTube.
Nice.
And then I think you'll be able to find some of the stuff. I think we got. We'll put it on my Twitter account, Instagram. TikTok, all those outlets. So, and then just kind of go. I mean, look, I think we all started this thing because we wanted to have fun. And I got a chance to work with Daniel Ogden, who's going to be working with me, kind of doing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And then his friend Max, who I just met, super cool guy. And we just want to have fun. We just want to put out a show that's going to have fun. And I've always thought, you know what, if I can make my friends laugh. And that's how I always pictured the show. Make my friends laugh, talk about stuff that people want to talk about, and maybe even stuff they don't want to talk about that maybe I'll get them interested in talking about. And just laugh and talk sports. And that's what we'll do. And we're not beholden to any one team. We'll focus primarily on the big sports. But if there's something going on, like tonight, if I was on tomorrow, I'd be talking USA, Canada. I mean, that thing was incredible last week, just incredible. And I mean, it blew the All-Star game away, but look, just the way it was set up, it was going to be better than the All-Star game. It just that you can't make the All-Star game like that. I kept reminding people, remember the NHL actually had an All-Star game too, right, and it sucked. Okay. They had to go to 3-on-3 and do all kinds of stuff because you just can't replicate in-season intensity. No one's going to go play hockey in the middle of the season 5-on-5 and checking the crap out of everybody and hurting somebody so they can't play for 2 weeks or the rest of the season. So they had an all-star game. Didn't work. Now they're doing the Four Nations best on best, and it's incredible. Basketball can't do that. There's not enough nations to compete in the NBA. So I'd be talking about that. Sure, I'll talk about the Warriors and the Giants and the Niners, local teams, but only if they're worth it. Like I don't feel like, hey, this team's horrible. I feel like I need to devote an hour to them, and that's what I got a little bored of in the last probably year or so of doing the radio. Was that I felt like it was so hyper local that we had to talk about the teams.
We had 3 topics. I couldn't. Yeah, it was like Niners, Warriors, Giants, Niners.
Yeah, and I got bored of it. How many times can I say the same thing? Like I'm saying the same thing over and over and over, and they're like, well, that's what we need to talk about to get the ratings, which we didn't get. We sometimes we did, sometimes we didn't, and I was like, no, the whole gist of this is to make people have fun, to get them to laugh, to get them to be entertained. Like I always told people, and I think this is something Ralph and I figured out, was we're not in the sports talk business, we're in the entertainment business. We're entertaining people. That's what you want to do. And that's what I'm hoping I can do with the guests we're going to have on. I'm hoping to have a lot of the same guests that I had on throughout the course of my years at KNBR. Maybe once a week we'll try to do an interview, but we're not going to stick to that. It's just kind of like, if we got someone to come on the show on a Wednesday, cool. If we got them to come on the show on a Friday, cool. If we got 2 in a week, cool. If we have none in a week, cool. Like there's no constraints here. Like we just, whatever feels right, whatever we want to talk about, we're going to get to. And I'll know. I mean, Daniel's been around me for a lot of years, and he knows what works and what's funny, what's not funny. And like, if he says it's not funny, then I'll just argue with him and say it is funny. Shut up. Like, I'm going to talk about it anyway. This is going to be really funny. Check it out. And look, if you tried, I try to be funny. I like being funny. I like making people laugh. You're going to miss. Of course you're going to miss occasionally. Like you can't be 100% with comedy. It doesn't work that way. So, but I just want people to either sit down and watch us. We're not sure exactly what time the shows will be on, maybe early afternoon. Mondays could be a little later, could be a little earlier. I don't know yet. Yeah. This is kind of a living thing, and it'll evolve into something that, we'll have a pretty good idea of what it's going to be at some point, but I'm not going to promise anybody what that point may be. Yeah. I just want to let it happen. Just organically let it happen and see where it goes. And again, I don't want to put any limits on the show. Like the goal is kind of an hour 15, but it could go shorter, could go longer. Like I may have 3 things I want to talk about, and that's it. I don't have that much to say about it. I don't feel like I need to fill time for an extra 15 minutes. Like I feel like at that point I'll be wasting people's time. Like, okay, I need to get to an hour and 15. Let me kind of regurgitate what I said in the first 15 minutes. I don't need to do that. If it's like a tight 45 and I feel like good, and that's like I got nothing else to say today. Boom, we're done. But if I have like 6 or 7 things that I really want to get into, who knows? Could be 2 hours, hour and 45. It's just like, it'll be a feel thing. So I'm looking forward to it. This is something that I wouldn't have done had, I not been shown the door at KMBR, because I probably would have stuck there because I like the people that I work with. I love working with Copes and Tim and Derek. They're just really cool guys, fun to work with, fun to be around. And that's probably part of the job that I'll remember the most is the people, you and B. Smith and Jen, and then all my co-hosts that I worked with, Bernsey, Ratto, Ray Woodson. I mean, I know I'm missing some people there, but and obviously Ralph, who, I love working with him, but the people, it was the people that I work with. Hell, Tony Ryan, who's doing a show with Paulie Mack now, he ran the board for Ralph and I early on. And so, Larry and Rod, obviously, who I worked with a couple of years ago. So, I mean, it's all the people you get a chance to hang out with and talk with. That's what I'll miss. Well, I miss all the crap about, okay, this is what we want to do. This is what we want to, how we want to structure.
This is what you can talk about. Yeah. Well,
I'm not going to miss that at all.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what's cool about it, having done it. I've only done it about 3 months, but it's like learning a new language. It's the same thing in that you're trying to deliver like you've always tried to deliver, but the platform makes it so different because, like you said, some days I might go 2 hours, some days I might go a half hour, because I want to make sure that it's great content all the time. Whereas when you and I were doing it, it's like, we got to do 4 hours. So we're doing 2-hour shows, or our program director would say, hey, no Drew Ramenda at 5:00 because people don't want to hear hockey, or whatever the case may be. You do what's great. And then here's the other great part about it. What's that? That's what I'm saying. I'm going to put it down your throat. But what's great about it is, let's say you do a half hour, it lives forever. So in other words, it doesn't have.
That's good.
It is, and it's bad, because if you say stupid stuff, then people will always go back to it and they can steal it off your whatever. But if you do a half hour, all of a sudden, you'll leave and X amount of people watch, and then you left and all these other people watched. And so it's a totally different form. So you only do as long as what you want. You only talk about the things you want. And here's the greatness of you. You're such a good storyteller, and you have a million stories, that it used to be that a producer in our ear, no matter who it was, you'd be going off on these tangents. And the things that people love about these shows is you tell all these stories, and you get them behind the scenes, especially you, and you tell these great stories. And then a producer will be like, Tom, it's time to break. Tom, break, Tom, break, breakity, break. Like you can just do what you want. And if you're done with the story, then the show's over. It lives forever. You only talk about what you want. And that's what I mean is I never do a B story, only because it's like, well, I don't care. Like, I'm not beholden to the Giants. I'm not the flagship. I'm not into anybody. So you're able to just, and you may do a whole show, you being you may not talk about one thing about sports, and it'll be the most entertaining hour or whatever that anybody spent. And you might have told one story. And it's just, you can do whatever you want. And so for you, and I don't know if you feel the same way I do, which is, it sucked those days afterwards when I thought to myself, what am I going to do here? And then having done this, it's like, God, it's so liberating to be able to do what you want, say what you want, go as long as you want, not break for a commercial, not get pulled into some, jackass meeting about, hey, the consultant is in town and the consultant says this, and it's like, whatever. So it's just and then as far as when you're doing it, it doesn't matter because what I do it in the morning, which is probably stupid, but people just consume it when they want to consume it. They like later on they'll consume it. It doesn't necessarily have to be live unless they want to chat with you, whatever.
Yeah.
But they're watching it whenever they're watching it. So it's pretty cool that way.
Yeah. If I do a show in the morning, you should probably make sure I haven't been kidnapped and it's a ransom.
Remember when you had to do with the Murph and Mac during the playoffs? What was it? The Tolbert Minute or whatever.
They went to I had to do that, but I also did their whole show one time because they were traveling to the Super Bowl and Hammer asked me. And I said, well, I want 2 vacation days for it. And he goes, I'll give you 1. I go, nope, 2 vacation days. So I did it. And I was like, good God, it's early. Like I'm driving to work. It's dark outside. There's nobody out there. It was like, I should ask for 4 vacation days. Like I'm not doing this again. Like I always knew. They never asked me because people go, oh, that'd be great if you could do the mornings or it'd be fun. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing mornings. I don't want to do mornings. Even Lori is like, you should do mornings. That way you can be home by 11. I'm like, yeah, no, not happening.
Dude, it's
that way I got to go to bed at 10. I don't go to bed at 10. I stay up. Last night I was up till 1:30. Like I'm between 12 and 1 guy. Yeah. Like usually between 12:30 and 1. Mostly between 12:40 and 12:45. Right in that window, like 12:43, 12:42. In fact, I have a little alarm. I don't know why it goes off. You know how these phones like figure out when you go to bed and say, hey, it's bedtime. It's like, shut up. I'll tell you when it's bedtime. Steve Jobs, you're not going to tell me when it's bedtime.
Tolbert, this is the optimal amount of
recommended bedtime. But yeah, 12:45 is usually about the time. But you know, if I'm watching a game or something like that, or like last night, I got caught up in watching something that I've already watched before, which was a 30 for 30 Lakers and Celtics. I mean, I love it so much. And I was watching it again. I'm like, why am I staying up so late? I've already seen this. I know how it's going to end. I lived it. I went through it. I watched all this. But it's like it was so well done that I just continued to watch it. So anyway, yeah, mornings were never, ever, ever going to cut it for me.
Dude, I did mornings for years in Detroit, and you have to psych yourself up. Like when your alarm goes off at 3:30, you can't hit snooze. You have to say, this is going to be the greatest day of my life. Like you have to fool your body, and your body is exhausted all the time. And it's just not worth it because it probably cut 10 years off my life. Now, those are the adult diaper wearing years anyway, which you could probably nail my coffin shut at that point. But still, it's like, you know, you feel like
a lot of advancement in the adult diaper industry, though.
Okay, so let me ask you.
Cashmere diapers, I've heard, are coming pretty soon.
Dude, you can nail my coffin shut at that point. Like, if I need someone to help me go to the bathroom, help me consume food, my doc tells me I can't drink anymore. It's like, what's the point of this? Like, put me in. Like, I'm good. Like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, you don't want to go. I mean, look, even if they had cashmere diapers, you wouldn't want to wear those anyway. You don't want anything that like just rubs up against your balls just a little bit. You're like, that's inappropriate.
See, this is what's going to happen.
What are you doing? You're at the wedding. Let's go. Stop saluting.
Sorry, you just got me on a tangent.
Yes.
But as far as guests go, I'm so bummed that Walton's gone. Because could you imagine your show if Walton was on, where basically you could go, hey, Bill, and then you could leave the screen and Walton could go for maybe 2 hours. And then you could like come back and like, because remember, I imagine I only had Walton a couple of times when you and I were doing the show, but it was like constantly like B. Smith going, dude, we got to break. It's like, what am I going to do? Like, I can't even break in here. Like, it's
you don't
amazing.
break when Walton's on.
No,
but I wouldn't leave anyway because I love. I miss him. I miss him, and I miss fire on the mountain.
Are you still there, Tom?
There. Hello,
so
Tom,
good, bro.
Oh,
anyway, all right. Let me ask you just a couple of things because one thing is I'm just like blown away by. Yeah. So, as a former player, so I watched. I know you're gonna make fun of me for this, but maybe you won't because you're the one who taught me that like just bet on anything. It's just about value. It's not about the game. So I might have thrown a couple of bucks on Charlotte and the Lakers last night.
Okay.
So I flip it on, and first of all, LeBron's doing the pregame, and he's dancing around. He's dancing and dancing. I'm like, oh man, that foot must feel better. And then during the game, I have this clip for him. I'm going to show you this clip. You've probably already seen this, but just to let people to know, there's LeBron. Oh, wait a minute. There's the beginning of it. See, this is what's going to happen to you.
He hasn't been very good.
Oh, look out below. It was really nice, but it's Thursday, so he did that on Wednesday night. So the All-Star game, where if I'm an advertiser, I want the finals, I want the playoffs, I got the All-Star game. Those are the three big things. I don't care about Denver and Indiana on a Tuesday night. Like when you sold me this package, you said, oh, All-Star game is going to be awesome. This and that. We're making these changes. So I'm Budweiser or Coca-Cola, whatever. Okay, fine. And then an hour and a half before the game, LeBron says my foot hurts and doesn't play. And then they take a picture and he can't be even bothered to get in his uniform. He's like in jeans and a backwards hat. And he tells us that an hour and a half before the game starts, but then 3 days later in a non-televised game against Charlotte, who cares? He's running around, jumping around, dancing around, and dunking with, just a fervor unseen by mankind, Jim Harbaugh. So, like, what the hell, bro? Because you just mentioned hockey. Like, you can't make guys care. I understand that. But if the supposed best player of the game says, I don't care about the game, don't care to play, guys don't want to dunk, guys don't want to shoot threes, guys don't like the reason hockey's working right now is because the guys actually care, and you can't make guys care. I understand that. Steph tried, but like LeBron James is just openly saying, F the All-Star game. I don't care. Like, isn't that a problem? I mean, wouldn't that be a problem for advertisers, TV, all that kind of stuff? When 3 days later in a non-televised game against Charlotte, he's playing like that, even though 3 days before he said an hour and a half before the game, my foot hurts. Like, that's a problem. Is it not?
Look,
but at least they're probably sold like, hey, there's going to be a lot of eyes on this. Like, isn't there a responsibility for this dude just jog up and down the floor for 5 minutes? We're not even asking for effort.
Well,
Can you
look,
just fake a little bit?
It's not on LeBron. It's on all of them. It's on all of them because they're making obscene amounts of money, and they deserve it. Right? That's what the television contracts are. That's what the salary cap is, and that's what the best players get. They're getting upwards of $70 million now. I mean, that's an ungodly sum of money, excuse me. You would think, okay, this is a marquee weekend. We owe the NBA at least a little bit of effort during the game to make it something that people want to watch. Like the stars could occasionally show up for a dunk competition. The best players usually show up for the three-point shoot, or some of them anyway. I mean, Dame Lillard was there, Steph's done it, Clay's done it. I mean, you've had some of the greatest shooters of all time do it. Vince Carter was like, I think the last like kind of star that did the dunk competition. I mean, Aaron Gordon was phenomenal. That Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine was one of the best dunk competitions I've ever seen. I mean, that goes back to Jordan Dominique. That was fantastic. But how many times did Jordan compete in the dunk competition? At least 3, I think. Dominique was there. Like, that's what they try to say for like the MLB's All-Star game. Like, Barry Bonds couldn't take time out of his schedule to be in the home run derby when it was in San Francisco. Like that's what I think. That's where the collaboration
that happened, because you played in the era where those guys wanted. The issue to me comes back to guys are afraid to compete. Like, these guys don't want to go in the dunk contest because white men can't jump. Woody Harrelson is winning the dunk contest and they don't want to get embarrassed. Or the combine, which I know is your favorite, and I can't wait for your mock draft to come out. Like, guys go to the combine and they won't throw. Or like, when did it start that dudes just didn't want to compete? Because if I saw Max, like if I'm LeBron and I'm supposedly the shepherd of the NBA, and Max McClung or Mac McClung or G League McClung or whatever the hell is winning dunk contests, like, what the hell, bro? Like, you've got to get people in it and care about it. And is it too much to ask? I know this is crazy. It's a fan game. Sponsors want you to do it. Like, just effort and just go. And for the NBA and Adam Silver to say, look, man, you got to do this. You got to shoot the three contest. You got to be in the dunk. Like, unless there's an injury I don't know about, we're trying to grow the game, and Max McClung is winning dunk contests, man. Look, it was. I think the message he's sending, like, in other words, I'm LeBron, and I ain't playing. So the rest of you, because again, I'm going to go back to your generation. If Kobe played in the All-Star game, and I'm not saying it was great back then, but I grew up like, Dr. J and Bird and those kind of guys, they gave a shit. Like, Kobe, it went through the locker room. You got to play hard, and he would get pissed at you if you didn't. Whereas now it comes through the locker room, and LeBron doesn't want to play, and nobody wants to play. And so it's like that time when Marc Gasol, like, dude, why are you playing hard? Like, knock it off. Quit playing hard. Like, when did that change?
You know what? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to romanticize the All-Star game and say these guys are giving playoff level intensity. They never were. It was Park League. intensity. What I like to say is like when I played at the park when I was younger, if you won, you stayed on, you lost, you left. So you had to give a certain amount of intensity to stay on the court because you could be sitting out for the next hour not playing. That's the type of intensity I think the NBA All-Star Game should have. I don't want guys to go out there and go nuts, diving into the crowd to save a ball, try and charge, getting underneath players. I don't need that. What I do need is, you know what? If you lose, you're going to leave the court type of intensity. And I think the All-Star Game used to have that. Again, I don't want to romanticize it and say it was great because it wasn't. They had moments where guys were dunking and guys were just, easy dunks and no one's getting back on defense. But the problem with today's game is the three-point line is so influential in every single game that this turns into dunks or just jacking up threes. It's all they're doing is jacking up threes. So the game's been unwatchable for, I don't know, maybe a decade or so. And I like everybody has an idea of what to do with it. A big pot, $10 million and this. I'm like, we're going to give them more money? Do I need to read what each one of these All-Stars is already making? And by the way, we have to give them money to make them interested in the NBA Cup. Do you think they'd be as interested in the NBA Cup if there's no money attached to it? Like I said the NBA Cup is just dumb. I always thought it was a dumb idea. I think it's a dumb idea. But it did add a little intrigue to the part of the season where there isn't any. The players seem to be into it, probably because of the money. The fans were into it. Eye doctors were into it because I don't know how many retinas they've had to fix watching the NBA Cup games. Retinas when you're watching them on the court. I mean,
brutal.
It's crazy. So now we got to give them more money. How about just play? Because you're honored to be voted to the All-Star team. And you're going to play against the Eastern Conference. I don't need the world versus the U.S. I don't need, 6-7 and above or 6-7 and below. Just give me two teams, East and West, instead of wearing all-star jerseys so you can make more money. Wear your home team's jersey, which I always thought was cool. And just give us a reasonable effort, like an honest effort. And I think you'll have a fantastic game. I know you'd have a fantastic game. I've seen it before. They're fun to watch. But if you're not going to do that, do a horse competition. Get the All-Stars. Let's play horse. Do the All-Stars. Let's have a one-on-one competition. Because you're the only one out there. And you will get embarrassed if you're not trying.
Guys playing that, though, that might probably
I don't know.
If it's a one-on-one tournament
and it's the like, best. What are you scared?
But if it's
scared to not play?
If it's a one-on-one tournament and the best players play, I'm down. If it's one-on-one tournament and I don't know, Max McClung is playing the 12th guy in the Bucks, then it's just like then it's the same thing. All I'm asking for is effort. And I think for a game like that, and it can't be fixed, but if you effort, that's all I can ask of you. I can only ask an athlete to effort, and at least fake the effort. Where LeBron just says, "Look, an hour and a half before the game, I'm not playing. My foot hurts." The rest of the guys go, if LeBron's not playing. So then it sets the precedence for the future of the game itself. And I don't expect it to be anything it's not. I always tell people this, like if I walk in to a movie theater and it's an Adam Sandler movie, if what is it, Happy Gilmore 2 comes out, I'm going to hit myself over the head with a hammer and go, and go, okay, this isn't going to be Oscar winning. I know what it's going to be. And that's my expectation level. So I think of all-star games like that. Like I don't walk in and think it's going to be, an Oscar-winning performance, but effort is the minimum that they can give, and they can't even seem to do that, or at least even fake that they can do that.
Yeah. No, I thought the effort from what I watched was better this weekend. Still wasn't great, but it was better. But the format was brutal. So we don't need that. Just again, effort's fine. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Real quick. Warriors. So Draymond is being Draymond. I think Draymond's going to be more Kendrick Perkins and Charles Barkley in his post career because everything's extreme with him. The weekend was 0 out of 10. We're going to win the championship. The NBA sucks. Like he's extreme guy. But that's for a later conversation. But he thinks, and he should think, because that's what he's playing for. He's like, we're going to win the championship. Yeah. He's very effusive in his praise of Jimmy Butler. So now that they have Jimmy and we're on like a 27 game sprint, what do you think? What do you think of the Warriors now that we're set and we know who they are?
Well, I mean, they're not better than OKC. OKC is the best team in basketball, in my opinion. Of course, that's my opinion. I'm the one talking. I don't know why people need to say that. In my opinion. Well,
wait a minute. I thought you were someone else.
What are you taking someone else's opinion and regurgitating? No, that's my opinion. Yeah, I know you're talking. I get it.
OKC, Michael Myers' opinion.
Boston and Cleveland are the 3 best teams in basketball. And where do the Warriors fit in? I think the Warriors could maybe get to 6. I think it'll be tough. Here's the problem. They've beaten all the teams and have the tiebreaker against all the teams that they're not going to be tied with at the end of the year. Like, they have the tiebreaker on OKC. Great. You have the tiebreaker on Memphis. Great. You have the tiebreaker on Houston. Great. Okay, who don't we have the tiebreaker against? The Lakers.
Yeah.
Not good. You don't have it against Phoenix. Not good. You don't have it against the Clippers. Not good. I don't think they have it against the Mavericks, but they do have it against the T-Wolves. That's a one team, I think, that amongst all the teams they could end up being tied with, that could come down to the last week of the season, the T-Wolves. But look, I think Jimmy makes them better. There's no doubt. They're going to miss Wiggins' defense. Wiggins was the best perimeter defender that they had on that team. He's the guy you could put up against the big wings, Kawhi when he was healthy, LeBron James, guys like that. You could put him on those players and say, okay, make life as miserable as you can for him. And he had some pretty decent success doing that because Wiggs, 6'8", long, athletic. He made it difficult on those guys. So they're going to miss that. What Jimmy gives them, what Butler gives them is toughness, basketball IQ, and just a know how to get it done type player. I mean, he's not a typical Warrior player, not a three-point shooter. He's a slasher. He's a guy that gets to the rim.
Yeah,
he's a physical guy. Yeah, gets to the free throw line. So he gives them something they didn't have. So where the rest of the team is trying to space everybody out, he's finding those lanes and finding those cutting lanes to get to the basket, draw some contact, and he's had success in the playoffs. I mean, he's a winner and he's a competitor, and I think that'll show in the playoffs. Where would I put them? Like, I'd give them better odds. Like, I checked the odds a couple days ago.
What? You checked the odds?
Yeah, I know. It's shocking, huh? They were 42-1 to win the championship.
Damn. See, I'd put money on that just for the hell of it. That,
yeah, I think
you talk value. It's value.
That seems a little high.
You didn't throw any money
but
on that?
I couldn't put him any higher than 25. Like 25 sounds about right. And to put it in context, OKC is like plus 250. Boston's plus 200. The Cavaliers are plus 800. They're like 8-1, something like that. And then it goes down from there. But yeah, I mean, they still got a lot, there's some holes on that team, obviously. Right. And will they be better next year with another year of Jimmy? Yes, but Jimmy gets another year older. Yeah. Draymond gets another year older. Steph gets another year older. So I think they felt like they had to do something. Like, they didn't just want to stay pat and see what happened. Now, hopefully, Butler, who says he's found his love of basketball once again. It's funny how $120 million works that way. I'd find my love of basketball for a lot less than that. I'll tell you. There's no doubt about that. It will not take $120 million.
I'm not coming to Golden State. I'm not coming to Golden State. I'm not coming to extension. Woohoo! Never been happy.
Well, remember Deshaun Watson? He didn't want to go to Cleveland.
Right.
He had no interest in going to Cleveland.
$230 million?
Oh, you're going to guarantee the whole contract? All right, I'll go to Cleveland.
Love Cleveland.
And it's worked out beautifully for both of them.
It's been awesome.
The Browns and Deshaun Watson, that is a marriage made in hell.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be happier, to be honest with you. As soon as he went there, I was like, I'm going to root for them to lose every game. And they've obliged for the most part. But like, let me give
you a Warriors theory, because here's what's great about you. You're not going to be like, well, maybe. You're just going to go, you're stupid. So maybe, just maybe, I'm with you. If they're in the play-in, who the hell knows, man? Maybe Durant goes for 50 on that night and you're screwed. So I hate the play-in, but if they could somehow get to 6, just for the sake of conversation that they're older, okay, they're 6 and they're taking on 3, which might be a young Houston or a young Memphis or something like that. Conceivably, they win game 1 and all of a sudden Houston's freaking out, right? Oh my God. And they panic and they win. Now, I don't know if they could do that again and again and again, like OKC's young, Houston's young, Memphis is young.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything to, well, I don't think they can sustain this over a number of playoff series. That's the problem. But could they win a series like that just based on the fact that those three guys are so good and they're veterans and these teams are young? And even though they're really good regular season teams, they haven't won anything in the playoffs. All of a sudden the Warriors get up on them a game and they panic. Would there be anything to that theory or no?
No, I mean, look, they could absolutely win a series. I mean, you got one of the greatest players of all time. You got another Hall of Famer in Draymond Green. You probably, I'd have to look at his career a little more closely to see if Jimmy Butler's a Hall of Famer. But Steph, obviously, the given. He's one of the top, I don't know, 10, 15, 20, whatever, wherever you want to put him. I don't really care. He's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. And Draymond's one of the greatest defenders to ever play in the NBA, one of the smartest guys I've ever seen play. And they have the know-how. They don't have to wonder if they can win a championship. They know they can win a championship. They've done it 4 times. So when they get there, they understand what it takes, and that gives you a little bit of an edge over a team that hasn't done it. OKC, Houston, Memphis. So, and those are like, I mentioned those 3 teams because those are 3 teams that really give the Warriors problems. Young athletes. Yep. Young athletes, young athletic teams. I could have said it that way to begin with. But they just, it's hard for the Warriors to deal with them because the Warriors aren't super athletic, getting a little older, but they have the experience. They have the savvy. So, yeah, I think they could. I mean, I want to see the last 27 and see how they gel. Yeah. I don't know if I learned a whole lot from the initial burst. They played a horrible Chicago team that they got down 21, and it was one of the most insane comebacks. You're down 21, you win by 24, or down 24, win by 21. It's like insane. And by the way, they were down the 24 with like 8 minutes left to go in the third quarter. It still came back and won by 21. So then you go to Milwaukee. You beat Milwaukee without Giannis. And they lose to Dallas without, and that one hurt too because that was a tiebreaker one. That'd have been nice to get that one without Anthony Davis. And then you go to Houston.
Anthony Davis is out and you lose.
Yeah, but that doesn't. But that doesn't affect the players. Players don't get caught up in that.
I guess.
Like all that stuff's outside noise. They just play basketball.
I got to ask you this because have you seen Court of Gold yet? Court of Gold. Have you seen that
I
yet?
have not seen Schmucking a Pancake.
So that's coming up on Netflix. I got to watch that. And one of the scenes, and I played it, and then YouTube got all mad. That's the one thing about YouTube is like they're like, you can't play that. I'm like, I'm promoting Netflix, and they're like, sorry, you got to cut that out, or we're gonna put a strike against you. So I had to cut it out, and I'm not gonna replay it again.
3 strikes? Do you go to jail?
I don't know. They make you cut your channel or something. So, but you might have saw it. But so Steve Kerr, after of course Curry makes the shot and gets them the Olympic gold, he goes over to the bench, and Kerr hugs him and drops about 3 MFs, like you're the greatest MF or MF. It probably goes like 5 MFs and a couple of Fs and a couple of S's, like boom, 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 boom. Like it was really impressive. It was probably within like a 15 to 20 second period to tell Steph how great he was, how great he is as a human. Like I didn't realize is a big profanity guy. Like does Steve drop a lot of F-bombs? Steve a big F, You
got to realize.
Like, boom.
You got to realize he grew up in L.A. He knows all the Tommy Lasorda stories. So me and him, we love Tommy Lasorda. We love the Tommy Lasorda rants. Yeah, I told him he's got to like at least one time before he retires do a Tommy Lasorda. He's got to do a Tommy Lasorda on the mic. Like I think it was Shea Gilgeous-Alexander had 50 against him, but they beat the Thunder.
Right.
And so it didn't quite work out, the whole Kingman thing. When Dave Kingman hit 3 home runs and had 7 RBIs against the Dodgers, and the reporter goes up to Tommy, goes, "Hey, Tommy, so what'd you think about Dave Kingman?" And Tommy looks at him and he said, "Well, I'm assuming he looked at him. I just remember the audio." He goes, "Well, he had 3 fucking home runs and 7 RBIs." And somebody in the background goes, "No, 8 RBIs." He goes, "8 RBIs?" He goes, "What do you want me to fucking say?" He goes, "That's a pretty fucking tough question to ask me, isn't it? Guy went out there and kicked our ass, and you're asking me what I fucking think about Dave Kingman and his performance? What do you think I fucking thought about Dave fucking Kingman and his fucking performance?" Like Tommy was Tommy was first ballot Hall of Fame cursor. It was just amazing. It was a symphony of F-bombs is what it was. And it just flowed right?
Yeah,
He was like
certain guys.
Mozart of the F-bomb. It was like just beautiful the way he did it. So I told him, because he actually dropped a little bit of an ode to Lasorda when somebody asked him what he thought about, and I think it was, if it's another player, I apologize, but I think it was Shea, and he goes, "What do you think about Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's performance?" He goes, "What do you think I thought of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's performance?" And it was hysterical. I told him it didn't quite work because you guys won. He goes, if you guys would have lost, and somebody could have asked you that,
you
could have said, what did he have, 52? What do you fucking think I thought of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's performance? He fucking kicked our ass. It's kind of a tough question to ask me, isn't it? And I love that. I love too the end of the Lasorda, thing where he goes, and so Lasorda answers it, and he goes, all right, thank you. He goes, well, that's not, he goes, I didn't give you an answer. He goes, you give me an answer. He goes, yeah, but it wasn't a good one. He goes, fucking, I mean, Tom Lasorda was just,
it's so good.
But people that grow up in this era, that get the homogenized coaches, like it pops the closest you'll come.
Yeah, right.
To like just kind of going off the rails a little bit. But even NFL coaches, you don't get NFL coaches like John McKay, former coach of the Trojans and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I saw a quote from him a couple of nights ago where he said, he goes, we were lousy at tackling, but we made up for it by not blocking. Incredible. Like no coach is killing their own team. So of course,
nobody
wants
Steve. To go.
I texted Steve and I told him, I go, next time you guys lose, we really couldn't shoot the ball. We made up for it by not defending. I go, that'd be a nice ode to John McKay. So we're never going to get the coaches that stalk the sidelines in any sport now. It's too corporate. There's too many sponsors.
Right. They don't want to go viral.
You can't curse. You can't rip your own team, which I kind of agree with actually. But I mean, it was every sport back then, right? It was baseball. You had like a Hal McRae going crazy and Lasorda, and God, there's nothing on TV tonight. What am I going to do? I'll just go on YouTube and like look at old coaches clips or listen to old coaches clips. Like I can't get enough of listening to the Lasorda stuff, the Lee Elia stuff, where he's just like killing Cub fans. I mean, could you imagine Melvin coming out and killing Giant fans?
Calling them
going, oh,
drunks. They're basically saying you're at Wrigley Field in the middle of the day, you jobless drunks, and those are your fans.
Can you imagine like 15,000 showing up to Oracle and the Giants are losing, and Bob Melvin's like, yeah, I mean, we come out here, we're trying the best we can, and these cocksuckers are booing us out here. We can't even get anybody to cheer us on out here, and we're playing as hard as we can. And look, everybody else in the Bay Area is working, and these cocksuckers are coming out here.
Larry Bear went off a power switch or something like that. It would be gone.
These cocksuckers coming out.
He was?
I didn't know that.
He
He was in the locker room when Lee Ely
my God.
No, it was absolutely amazing.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, too, is like, this, you played for Nelly. The closest I could get to it was my first job in the business. I don't know why they gave this to me, but I was the locker room guy for the Utah Jazz with a live mic, and Jerry Sloan was the head coach. And so before the media would do the scrum, I got a 2 to 3 minute interview with Jerry. And so it was this cigarette breath and stuff. And I'm this, hey, Jerry, and I would ask those kind of dumb questions like, well, what did you think of the game tonight or this and that? He would just glare at you and say things that like, there's no way that you could ever say like nowadays you pull up, this, you played in this era. Like if you pulled up on the fast break and you're Jeff Hornacek and you shot a 3, like you were coming out of the game and Sloan would rail you like in front of everyone. And then after the game, hey, Jerry, what did you think of that Hornacek 3 on the break with 3 minutes left in the third? And he'd be like, what the fuck? And I'm in Utah. The fuck did you think I thought of that Hornacek 3? What? And he would just look at you and you're like, oh my God, I'm in so much trouble. But he wasn't into like, I got to protect the players and what are they going to say? And what are they get,
let's be honest. Hornacek shot that 3. He would have been okay with it.
Like I'm trying to think of another guy that Delaney Rudd, like, I mean, just somebody that innocuous player that played for the Jazz back then, it was like, what the hell? But you got honesty. I mean, you just got honesty, right? I mean, he didn't know how to do anything but honesty.
More color.
Yeah.
It's just more fun. Like everything's about efficiency now in sports, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do a whole segment on that. Hopefully I'm going to talk to all or get my guests about that and put a compilation together at some point. But how do we get the entertainment back in sports instead of just being efficient? I appreciate efficiency. You're trying to win, but we need to get entertainment back to sports. And real quick, I got to say this. Speaking of cocksuckers, you've kept me here an hour.
Okay,
I'm letting you go. I can't believe
I'm going to let you go.
I know. I'm like, holy crap.
Okay, I got 2 more things.
That's like over an hour now.
Okay, I know. That you got stuff
like
to do.
A kid at a camp. I got 2 more.
I know you got dogs to walk.
Give me 2.
I know you got dogs to walk and nothing to do, but hang on a minute.
Yes.
There was
Lou is not thrilled right now at you, by the way.
Yeah. What was the other thing? I had a great show. Oh, I know. Speaking of honesty, this is the greatness of this forum again. So as much as you want to say, you can say, you and I did the first interview ever of Kyle Shanahan when he became head coach of the 49ers. And he comes in and he's got this black hair and his skin is nice and he has no growth and he looks like he's about 25. And now he's aging worse than the president. Looks like 55. He's got And I know you're going to have Kyle on a lot because he loves doing interviews with you. He respects what you do. And it's an awesome interview when you have him. But I remember one thing. So this is right after the Atlanta Super Bowl. We're interviewing him in the children's room or whatever it was. He comes over, he sits down. And this is why guys will open up to you, because we could do the interview, blah, blah, blah. And then you said, Kyle, I got to know this. And Kyle's a terrible liar. And he's even said it. And that's when we found out. I remember it. I don't know exactly how you phrased it, but it was Devontae Freeman and he misses the block in the Super Bowl. And so you say to Kyle, hey, Kyle, if Devontae Freeman makes that block, do you guys win the Super Bowl? And he kind of looks around and he goes, okay, we off the air. And then he proceeds to tell us about the play and how bad of a missed block it was. Like, that's just, it's such cool stuff like that. I just remember doing that and it was off the air and now we're bringing it on the air, but hell, it's been 7-8 years. But I mean, I remember he opened up to you right away and was like telling, and that's like, Kyle would like to be old school and tell the truth, but he has to be PC, and he can't say what he wants to say. Kyle would be an amazing throwback kind of a guy because some of the dumb questions he gets asked, he'd be like, oh my God, I've been doing this my whole life. You don't know anything, you jackass. Stop asking me dumb questions. Like, he would be that guy. Don't you think?
Yeah. Look, I'm not endorsing coaches ripping their players in public because I know you are. If I was a player, I wouldn't have liked to have been thrown under the bus. It doesn't mean I can't enjoy it when I'm listening to it. I mean, Lasorda usually didn't rip his players, although he would do that as well. And again, it's just a different era. But no, I remember asking Kyle that. And really the reason I asked it was because I lost money in the Super Bowl. I'm like, can we just run the ball there after Julio made that catch? What the hell? Do we have to drop back and pass? But I didn't say that. But no, here's my philosophy when I'm asking coaches questions. I want to know the thought process, not what the result is. Because to me, the thought process could be crap and the play could work. Thought process could be great and the play can't work. Fans do not realize how many times players screw things up. Like when I was playing for the Warriors, I'm not going to name the player, but he had like 1 or 2 plays in the entire playbook. Nelly called it for him coming out of a timeout. By the time we got to the court, he forgot it.
Chris
I'm like, trust me, he had more than 2 plays.
I know.
I'm like, how do you forget your own play? There's only a couple of them. Like that's
got to be Alton Lister. That's got to be Alton Lister.
You're gonna draw a play for you, and how'd you miss that? Like that's a chance for you to get your hands on the ball. But look, it happens all the time. I talk to a lot of coaches, and they're like, "Yeah." He goes, "We had this drawn up, and this was it," and then he forgot it. He forgot the play, or he'll just go somewhere like he'll get in the way of the play. Like you'll actively sabotage the play without knowing you're sabotaging the play. Like, bro, you're supposed to be on the other side of the court. What are you doing over here? We used to have I love Chris Gatling. He was a teammate of mine, and he'd forget the plays all the time. And I always knew when he forgot the plays because he'd just go run instead of pick and roll for Timmy. I was like, bro, that's not the play. What are you doing? You can't just run instead of pick and roll. We got action moving over here, and you're setting a pick and roll. You're setting a pick and roll over there. Like, what are we doing? And that's why it kills me, because these fans kill the coaches.
Right.
Oh, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Like, I don't know how we've gone from fandom, getting on players, to revering the players so much that it's all the coach's fault. And the players bear most of the responsibility in this. You're the ones on the court. You're the ones that can do something about it. You're the ones that have the ball in your hands or can stop the ball from going in the bucket. And that's why, and people get on me for oh, how come you don't rip this coach? I'm like, because I don't think the coach is responsible for a lot. I'll rip the players more than I'll rip the coaches, because I was a player. And I understand that if the players do what they're asked to do and even can think on their feet a little bit, you can get the job done, right? Unless the talent mismatch is there. So again, I know what a player is supposed to do. And when I see a player not doing it, I'm like, well, the play can't work now. And then the fans are like, well, this coach sucks. Was this coach? Why did he draw that play? He didn't draw that play.
Right.
You dumbass. He drew a different play, but the play you saw wasn't supposed to be run because player X was where player Y was supposed to be because he short-circuited in 10 seconds. He literally was told 10 seconds ago, this is the play, and you can't remember it. Now, look, I'm not saying that happens all the time, but it does happen. And it will happen in situations where fans are like, oh, what are you drawing up? What is that crap? Well, no, that's not what he was drawing up. In fact, they went out there and did the opposite of what he was drawing. So anyway, it's a lot more intricate. But to get back to, like, when I talk to coaches, I just want to know their thought process. Like, so I feel like I can ask Kyle, like, if they missed a 3rd and 8 and something happened and he ran the ball, or maybe they should have done this. I was like, okay, what was the thought process going into this? Why did you go for it on 4th down? Like, I still disagree with him, and I've told him this, the Super Bowl, how, they take the ball first in overtime.
Oh,
I don't care. I always take the ball second because I know what I have to do.
Bottom of the inning, you got to do that.
And he told me, and look, it makes sense that he said, look, we just the defense came off like a 10-play drive or whatever it was. And I get that the defense is tired, but they had time to rest in between the little intermission between the end of the game and overtime. And there was a timeout. Somebody got hurt as well in late 4th quarter, right. So they had time to rest. But then the analytics also said that when you, in this format, more times than not, it's going to be tied after the first 2 overtimes. Touchdown, field goal, something like that. So that's where the analytics come into play. And that's something I'll get into too throughout the course of my show, analytics and all the sports and what people like, what people don't like, what works, what doesn't work. So it gets back to the efficiency versus entertainment. But that was what analytics said, right? If you go to the 3rd down or you go to the 3rd overtime, usually it's going to be tied, and then they would have the advantage. It'd be like sudden death getting the ball first. Well, it didn't work out that way, but I appreciated this is why I did this. I don't have to agree with it, but I can see the point. Like, there are going to be some times where somebody told me something's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I don't understand the logic behind this. I do understand the logic behind that. And again, I don't have to agree with everybody, and I don't yell at people. That's not my style. Everybody knows that, but I just want to get behind the reasons why you're doing certain things. I think that helps people understand coaches a little bit more, like why somebody may be doing this. And I will say this, I've talked to Kyle enough. I've talked to my buddy Steve Kerr enough. I've talked to a lot of coaches. Ultimately, they're doing what they think is in the best interest of the team to win games. They want to win games. That's what they're paid to do, to win games. It may not be right. It could be something you disagree with, but they're not doing it because, I don't like this player, or I want to teach this guy a lesson, or I want to do this. These guys run multi-billion-dollar corporations now. This isn't the mom pa shop that I played for back in the late 80s, early 90s. Sports are a multi-billion-dollar business, and these guys are the CEOs of the team. Winning is the thing for them, period. That's it. So that's, when I talk to those type of coaches, I just want to get to the why do you do certain things? What's the thought process behind this? What's the logic behind this? And then the fans can agree or disagree. They can agree with the logic, disagree with the logic, but don't get caught up in the result. Too many fans get caught up in the result because I know the result's the thing that matters, but there's a lot of things that go into that result, and there could be a lot of bad decisions that turn out good, a lot of good decisions that turn out bad for a variety of different reasons, and you got to ferret through that, and then you can make up your own mind.
All right, don't look at the corner. 30 quick seconds, just because
Lou's like, this mother.
No, this is a great story. I'm not going to say the guy's name, but it rhymes with Schnappa. So when Schnappa, whoever that is, asked it,
Peppermint Schnappa,
So we had Joe Staley on one time, and there was a field goal that was blocked that cost the Niners a game, and he talked to him like, I knew what happened and I knew who screwed up and everything like that. Then I went down to 49ers HQ because you're saying it's on the players, and nowadays they can't call anybody out. So I go down into the locker room the next time I'm there, and Staley, who I always had a good relationship, grabs me and he says, "You tell Schnappa that here's what happened on that play, because he was blaming Joe, and Joe was like,
Yep.
no, it was this guy was supposed to crash in, and he was supposed to go. So like you said, especially when it comes to football, there's 11 guys who are supposed to be in concert on a certain play and do the right thing. And if one guy is wrong, and by the way, here's Brock, a 300-pound man is trying to crush his face within 2 seconds. He's got to read what 4 or 5 other guys are going to do. Okay, he's playing outside leverage. He better cut inside. I'm going to throw that ball inside. Uh-oh, it got intercepted because he read outside. Like, all these different things have to be going on right at the same time, and people will rip the player. But I just remember Joe grabbing me, like literally grabbing me, going, you tell him that this is what happened. I was not at fault, but I can't call a guy out. And like, his eyes are bulging out at me, and I'm like, I'm going to die. But so just to your point of like, we don't know what's going on. Only they know what's going on, and they can't call anybody out anymore. They got to just eat it. They got to take it. So
no, right. I agree.
All right,
and I'll leave you with this too. I know you like the movie Rounders, as I do, and we'll probably talk about this at some point during I don't know, one of the weeks of doing the shows. But in terms of Brock Purdy, if I can quote the great Teddy KGB, pay that man his money.
He's been paid. Real fast. Look at this on the screen right there. Because you were a star player at Arizona. I wonder if this happened to you. Things have kind of changed. So, Carson Beck obviously is being paid $4 million to play at Miami now.
Yeah.
And the Cavender sisters, they've made a bunch of money through the NIL. So that's his girlfriend. So Hannah Cavender had her SUV stolen. And then get this, though. Carson Beck, quarterback at Miami, college student, had his Mercedes and Lamborghini. They remain missing. Carson Beck has a Mercedes and a Lamborghini and lives in a condo overseeing the water in Miami. And his Mercedes and Lamborghini were stolen. Isn't that kind of like what it was like at Arizona, your Lamborghini and your Mercedes that you and Steve Kerr had?
No, there's this thing called NIL, right?
Yeah, but I mean, that's crazy.
It's been about 4 or 5 years now.
Okay, but a Lamborghini.
What, are you still living in the 90s?
My God, that's crazy. Jeez,
of course I had a Lamborghini to Arizona. What, are you crazy?
You drove that jalopy back and forth from LA and it died on you on the freeway. That's all I know.
I did, yeah.
You didn't have a Lamborghini.
R.I.P. Ford Cougar. That stayed on the side of the freeway.
I know it's the NIL.
I found it a lot funnier than my dad did, I got to be honest. He was not thrilled with it. He was not thrilled. What happened to your car? I left it on the side of the freeway.
What's a big deal?
Right.
It's like it was a Lamborghini.
All right. Yeah, the Ford Cougar. That was fantastic.
All right, I got to let you go. I've kept you way too long, and I apologize. Like you used to say, okay, I know we got to go, but just one more. I know we got to go, but
no, we don't.
I know we got to go, but just one more. No, we got to go. Monday is the show, the Tom Tolbert show. It's going to be Tolbert. It's going to be awesome, and I'm looking forward to it. YouTube and all the regular places, right?
Yep. Yeah. No, it's gonna be fun. I'm not sure exact. Again, I don't know what it's gonna become. So hopefully people will show up and they'll enjoy the content. We're just gonna have a good time, and we're gonna have some beers. I'm gonna have some beers. I'm not sure what they're gonna have. It may be a little too early in the day. This guy is gonna be my drinking buddy. I brought him out of the rafters. I think this was the idol in the Brady Bunch that they lost at the beach.
The tiki?
Yeah, remember the 2-part special?
Oh, totally.
Brady Bunch 2-part special. I think that's.
You got to go bring that thing back.
That's
dude.
what they lost. I mean, I got to clean this place up a little bit because I mean, if people see this, they're gonna go, "Tolbert, what are you doing in there? What are we doing? Is this turning into an American Pie?" Like
I was just gonna say, you got Kleenex in your computer room. I know what that means.
It just looks bad. It's a bad look, and it gives me the willies every time I look over. At it. So no, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna talk sports, and we'll do it for shorter as long as we feel like doing it. Yeah. But we are gonna do it 3 days a week, and Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I'm not sure exactly what times. Again, we're going to figure this out. Yeah. It's a living, breathing thing. And we'll get there at some point.
You're the best, bro. Hey, thanks for making the time. I know that you're going to kick ass and everything's going to be great. And you got not only you, but a really good crew working. So thank you for making the time. And I apologize that it was an hour 14, 53, 54. 55.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry.
You don't apologize.
I'm sorry.
You don't apologize at all.
I am. But, you know.
Bullshit.
I mean,
you're lying. Liar.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Thanks, bro.
All right, bro. I'll talk to you.
Man. Good to see you,
John.
All right, there he is, Tom Tolbert, the Tom Tolbert Show, which debuts Monday, the 24th of February. As Tom said, you're just gonna have to follow him. Follow him on all the social medias, but there is the Tom Tolbert Show. Get those numbers up so that Tommy gets it going, but he's going to start on Monday the 24th. Stay tuned. Plus, I'll keep you up to date on what's going on with Tommy as well and the Tom Tolbert Show, so make sure that you get going and you check out Tom's new show. And again, that's going to be on the 24th for Tom and the new show. And I appreciate Tommy because, like I said, this is the greatness, and I said this when I was talking to Tom. The greatness of the forum is that you just keep talking and things pop in your head and you don't have a producer in your ear going, Lund, break, shut up. Actually, it wasn't me that they were telling you shut up all the time too. But anyway, I was just like, I'm trying to get to break. What do you want me to do? So anyway, it's going to be really cool. And there is the Tom Tolbert Show. So make sure that you're following Tom starting on Monday. All right, a couple of things before we get out of here on a Friday edition of the show. And again, I want to remind people, we do Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to whenever we get done. Pacific time, and then you can watch the thing all the time. I will separately put out the Tom Tolbert interview, John Lund Unleashed. So make sure on YouTube you're following John Lund Unleashed. We have a great website in which we put everything. I do a daily blog, archives of the podcast, of the show, of the YouTube show, all sorts of different stuff, social media, johnlundunleashed.com. So go to johnlundunleashed.com or simply follow on YouTube, John Lund Unleashed. And of course, those watching on Instagram and X at John Lund Radio. Appreciate hanging out as well. And again, make sure you follow Tommy's page. But we won't be here tomorrow. Normally we do a 10 a.m. Saturday show. We won't be here tomorrow. Going out of town for the birthday weekend. My wife's got something planned. So she comes to me, I guess last night, and she goes, are you going to do your regular show on Saturday? I go, yeah, man. You can't let the people down. I'm going to be there at 10 o'clock, and we'll do it early. And she's like, well, we're leaving, and I want to get out early. And I was like, gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, done. So we're going to do that. So for one Saturday, we won't be here, but you'll probably survive without me. We'll see. But let me give you a couple of things before we get out of here today. A couple of things that are, I don't know that they're breaking, but this is really, I know this isn't the biggest names in the history of sports, but the Yankees, and I've always thought this was the dumbest thing ever. And all it would take is one player like a Garrett Cole, for example, to just say, look, if you make me shave my beard, if you make me shave my goatee, whatever, then I'm just not coming to your team. And then that quickly, this Yankees stupid thing about having to shave beards, mustaches, everything else. So they're going to change the policy. They've announced that they're going to end their policy that ban players from having facial hair. In this day and age, I mean, I don't know how long it took, but I mean, they're saying right there, after 49 years, almost 50 years, I do great math on this show. After 50 years of saying you can't have a beard, can't have a mustache, blah, blah, blah. And so now it's going to be weird to see the Yankees like that. But I don't know. It would just taken one guy like Reggie Jackson back in the 70s. They just could have said, look, man, I'm going to have facial hair. So if you ban facial hair, I'm not coming there. So how about that? And then that quickly would have changed. But anyway, so if you're a Yankee, you'll have a beard and a mustache or scruffy. I think actually they don't want the scruffy stuff still. I just tell them to pound sand. Like, look, I'm not signing here. I'm just not signing here. Like, I'm going to do my hair, do my, whatever I want is how I'm going to do it. And if you have an issue with it, the only thing that bums you out about that is you always liked, like a guy would be like Jason Giambi would be totally scruffy and all that kind of stuff. Then it was like, oh, let's see him cleaned up. And that was kind of funny. So you can see right there, if you're not watching on or not listening on the podcast and you're watching on the YouTube show or X or Instagram, that's what it's going to look like. So that was one of the weirdest rules in all of sports. I don't know how it lasted as long as it did. And then let me give you this one. It's the end of an era. And their food was atrocious. I mean, flat out atrocious. Hooters prepares to file bankruptcy amid declining foot traffic. I always felt so creepy going into a Hooters, and I had a boss. So I was working in Pittsburgh for ESPN, and there was a Hooters that was down the street from us, and the guy loved it. And to me, it was so creepy. So you'd go in there. Like, first of all, if they had great food, like if the wings were just amazing at Hooters, you'd say to yourself, you know what, I'll go. But it was always creepy, and they'd sit down at your table, and you'd be like, I'm not a big strip club guy, although I've told strip club stories before and I've been in plenty of strip clubs. I'm just not a strip club kind of a guy. And so it just felt like a strip club with bad wings is kind of how it felt. It was just always kind of creepy to me. And then a couple of my friends that when I worked in Pittsburgh, they were friends with the girls, which I thought was really creepy. And it just had a very strip club vibe to it. But the food just wasn't very good. Like they had some sort of a breaded shrimp thing that was okay. The wings were not good. The burgers were not good. So I'm not surprised, but there was a point in our country that was like, oh yeah, Hooters, just absolutely massive. The idea was massive. They'd be packed 24/7, 365. They bring out the buckets of beer. I think they originated in Florida. So obviously, I had the crab and they were outside and the weather was nice. And so it made a lot of sense. Now, I don't, we don't know what bankruptcy means a lot of times. It's like bankruptcy just means, okay, bankruptcy, and then all of a sudden they're still around. So I don't know that they're closing stores necessarily, but it doesn't surprise me that they're going into bankruptcy. I don't know what your viewpoint on Hooters ever was, but I was never a big Hooters guy. But like I said, I was forced to go there, honestly, forced to go there. I'm not even kidding. At least once a week. And I worked in Pittsburgh. That's where my son was actually born, but I got out of there fast after he was born. But I was working for ESPN there. It was a great opportunity. That's why when I've moved all over the country, it's like, oh, good opportunity, good opportunity. So I have a weird sense of sports fans and everything else. I've told you that a million times, but this was 25 years ago. But yeah, I always thought it was creepy. And then I remember his name was Dennis. And my boss, Dennis, would come into my office and come into my office there, and he would look at me and he'd be like, what do you think of Hooters for lunch? And it was like, he's my boss, like my direct boss. And I was just like, because the food wasn't good. And he knew all the waitresses, and they would sit down at our servers. They would sit down at our table and they would hang out. And I would just be like, oh, this is so creepy. And it was like, I had wings last week and they were terrible because they'd like bread their wings. Like, you don't need to bread wings. Just dip them in there, toss them in something. They're really good. But they would I think if I remember right, somebody can back me up on this. They would do breaded wings and they were just like thick and gross. And no, I just didn't like it. And he'd be sucking down. I mean, it doesn't matter. Statute of limitations is way up. He'd be sucking down beers. We'd go back to the office, and I was just like, you'd look at me weird if I wasn't drinking. And it's like, look, man, I got a station to run. I got to be on the air. Like, I'm not getting hammered. I'm not sucking down a bunch of beers. I'm not trying to pick up on the servers. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not tipping 50% for bad wings. Like, all those things. So I got it when I first went to one, it was in Florida. The weather's beautiful. I'm like, okay, this concept works. And then as the years went on, it was creepy. Plus, like I said, can you imagine Hooters, Pittsburgh? It's exactly what you think. Like, no offense to anyone listening in Pittsburgh right now, but you graded women on a curve. So what would normally be like a 4.5 here or LA or Dallas or something like that, like a 4.5 in those cities would be an 11 in Pittsburgh. So it wasn't like you were dealing with, what the original concept is like you're down in Florida, the girls are tan and all that kind of stuff. And you go in and I get that concept, but they shouldn't have ever had a Hooters in Pittsburgh in the first place. Pale skin, eating a lot of Permane Brothers sandwiches, a lot of, Midwest, and Pittsburgh's not East, it's not Midwest, but there's a lot of that kind of meat and potatoes kind of thing. You get my drift. I'm not trying to take shots, personal shots are not show fodder generally on this show. But you get my drift. It wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the greatest at all. All right, let me go get out to the lines because I haven't gone out to there's people with these stars on here. Let me get back because I guarantee I got to get to these. So I haven't hit any of these up today. And by the way, if you just stopped by for Tolbert, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed on a Friday edition of the show. Let's get to these. Daniel. Oh, yeah. We talked about Tommy before. It's great to see you, Danny. Danny Golding TV, Tolbert and Lund reunion. So Tommy and I did the show. I got the KNBR in 2016. I was at 95.7 from 2011 to 2016. Then they offered me an opportunity to work with Tom, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" My agent comes in one day, and my deal was coming up at 95.7, and we were negotiating, and I was doing midways with Greg, and I loved it with Papa, and things were great. But KNBR, I grew up in Southern California, but KNBR was a different animal. Everybody knew what KNBR was. And so they call me up and they say, my agent calls me and says, hey, they contacted me. They need somebody to work with Tolbert. At the time, he was working with Ray, and Ray was going to do other things. And he said, what do you think? I'm like, work with Tolbert? Are you kidding me? Like, Razor and Mr. T is legendary. I'd been in the business a long time, and everybody knew Razor and Mr. T. I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course. Yeah, I want to do it. So I ended up doing that. And then Greg comes over to KNBR in 2019. They wanted me to work with Greg. He was coming over, the flagship of the Niners. He wanted to come over there. And so we had worked together. So, yeah, that's what it was. So, yeah, Tommy and I had a ton of rating success. He was the most fun guy to work with. We would go over to 1050. I don't know if people know this, a little known secret, when Giants games were on, and we would just screw around and talk about the craziest stories. And then we'd be like, is anybody even listening on 1050? So we had a lot of good times. Tom was a lot of fun to do a show with, go out on location with. So it was cool talking to him. If you missed the interview, by the way, with Tolbert, I will post just the interview at johnlundunleashed.com. Also at John Lund Radio will link, and I've already got it up, I believe, at johnlundunleashed.com. So if you missed the interview, a lot of different ways that you can listen and watch. Obviously, we'll post it on the podcast as well, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast. And Tom starts his show on Monday. Thanks to our good friend. Look at this. Look at it. What's up, 707? He said, Tom, my dad, who DJ'd, I'll get this to Tom, said he'd play you one-on-one of a UFA party back in the day, and he never showed up. I'm going to screenshot that and send that to Tom. He'll talk about that on Monday on his show. Said he'd play you one-on-one at a U of A party back in the day, and he never showed up. Tom didn't show up, or your dad didn't show up. Oh, we got to get that to Tom. Senior softball games, one of my favorites. Tolbert should do long interviews, Rogan style. Senior softball games, I don't want to speak for Tom, but I do know that that's going to be part of it. So, again, I got to let him explain things. But he's going to do 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I do believe, Tom can tell you this himself, but I do believe one of the days per week that Tommy's going to do is going to be interview only. So Steve Kerr long form, Steve Young long form, which we actually cleared because we used to do the interview so long with Steve Young. And we were supposed to break at KMBR. The breaks were and still are something like this at 12 after, I don't even know the clock, because we blew right through it, but 12 after 24 and like 44, I think, with the breaks at KMBR. And so we would have Steve Young on every single week at 5, and like 5:45, we still hadn't broken. Like, and that's like 3 spot breaks, commercials. So we're behind like 18 minutes. So the minute Steve goes off the air at like 5:45, we've got 18 minutes of spots to run, and they got to find a way to do it. And basically, Tom and I never talk again. And the end of the show happens. So that's the great thing about it, senior softball games, as what will happen with Tom is he's going to do these long form interviews. And I'm not at liberty to say some of the other ones, but you can get the idea. Chris Small and a bunch of his old friends and a bunch of his guys. And I think one of the days per week is going to be dedicated to interviews. So again, you got to check it out with Tom and see what's going to happen. But as I understand it and don't want to let too much out, I think one of the days is going to be pure interview, which is going to be great because he's just going to be able to sit there with no breaks whatsoever and just whatever's on his mind. And you know how great he is at doing those kind of interviews, that a lot of stuff just comes out of nowhere. So make sure that you check that out. But long form interviews. I think that's what he's going to be doing at least one of the weeks. So just so I can answer that question, thank you for the donation, senior softball games, which will go to my ex-wife and my son who's in college, which, by the way, he just got a job with a company. What is it called? It's Sun Devil Source it's something like that. That's not right, but he's actually getting a paid job. He called me yesterday and said, hey, you know what? Somebody came to me based on probably his great performance at the Super Bowl where he covered it in New Orleans on our show and did the walk and talk and wrote a bunch of stuff. And so he's going to get a paying job. Not that that really matters because it's not paying a lot. First birthday old fashioned on me. Tacky, you are the man, and you know old fashions. We are going to be adding something to the show. I don't know if I'm at liberty to say this either, but I'm really bad at secrets. We're going to be adding a restaurant to the show, and we're going to be doing at least monthly, and if they're really popular, more than that, where we're going to, a professional bartender friend of mine who bartends at one of my favorite restaurants, and we're going to do a monthly, at least monthly to start, a sit down where he's going to make all these different cocktails, and his old fashions are out of this world. And I think that's what we're going to start with. And then there's another company that we're working with that I can't wait to tell you about, that we're going to be working with, that does unique bourbons and tequilas and mezcals and just all this really hard to find booze, and really cool. And I'll just let it out a little bit. They're in Lafayette, and they will ship all over the country in California and everything else. So anyway, really, really cool. So speaking of old fashions, Tacky, you got me on a tangent there. Old fashions, things like that, we're going to get a lot of cool stuff. So if you're an old fashioned fan or a fan of cocktails, which most people are, craft cocktails, really cool stuff like that, we're going to have a couple of new sponsors on the show. They're going to blow your freaking mind. They're going to be incredible. So I think you're going to be happy with this. And by the way, thank you for the donation, Tacky. Thank you for the birthday present. Really appreciate it. You're the man. Daniel is awesome. Happy birthday. It's my birthday tomorrow. You're 222. I'm actually 221. So today is my birthday. I said birthday weekend because I told you I hate birthdays. And so I hate telling people, but you know what? You're my friends. We hang out here every single day for the most part, even though tomorrow I won't be here, and I apologize for that, but I will make it up to you during the week and do an extra show. Normally I do Saturday starting at 10 a.m. If you're new in here, we do the show at 8 a.m. Pacific till whenever we're done. As Tom said, it's like, I'm not going to just stay here to blab, but I have stuff. But yeah, so we are both Pisces, Daniel. I am 221. You are 222. And we're around a bunch of good birthdays, by the way. Barkley's birthday, I think, was yesterday. If I'm not mistaken, Michael Jordan's birthday is it tomorrow? Kurt Cobain's birthday was yesterday, the 20th. Rihanna's birthday's right around here. What else? There's a ton of birthdays like in this range I've just known throughout my entire lifetime that was like, wow. My best friend's birthday was 220, so we would have these blowout birthdays in college that were just crazy. But I don't know. After you turn 30, I think you just go, that's it. Like you have 18, which is cool. You have my son just turned 21 on January 3rd. That's a really cool one. 20. I remember 25 being like, I better get my S together. Like I told you, I graduated college at what, like 21, 22, whatever it was. And then I immediately went on to cruise ships in Hawaii. And my parents were like, so what are you going to do? And I had a girlfriend at the time whose family was involved in, they're not around anymore. I think it was Aloha Airlines, right? Not Hawaiians around, Aloha isn't. They were involved in Aloha Airlines. And so we went over there and it was really cool. And they had this big house and we got an apartment. It was really cool. And we were just going to be there the summer. And I was bartending. And then an old fraternity brother of mine walks into a place that I was bartending at in Waikiki and goes, hey, I'm working on cruise ships and it's really cool and you should do it. And we're on like 2 months and off or on 3 months off 2 weeks or whatever. So I applied, I get a bartending job and I worked on cruise ships for like a year. And my parents are like, are you ever coming home? And I'm like, I might. And they're like, yeah, it would be good if you did. And so anyway, so it took me a minute to get going, but I just remember turning 25 and going, okay, I need to get it together. And then 30 was, by 30, I was fine. But I might've been a little late bloomer, just a little bit. Cause I just wasn't, mature. I mean, you can look at me. I'm not mature. I don't have a mature bone in my body. So yeah, it's a problem. Yeah, no doubt about it. All right. Anything else we need to address today? Episode 68. If you're new, we do the chalkboard every single show. Tolbert interview. That's going to be posted shortly. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast. It will be up on my page shortly. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. We will have it all over the place. I'll cut some cuts out of it as well, and that'll be on all of our social media, on X and Instagram and all those places at John Lund Radio. Birthdays, we just discussed. I hate them, but you got to deal with them. Warriors, the Warriors are back tonight against Sacramento. Both teams have the same record. Can the Warriors get to the 6th seed? That is going to be tough. 10 games, the next 10 games. I showed you that. Victor Wembanyama is out for San Antonio. What that means is good and bad for the Warriors. Good in that San Antonio is not going to catch them from behind this year. Bad in that what if they get into the lottery and get like a Cooper Flagg or one of these top guys, because now they're going to dive down into the lottery. And it's kind of like when they had David Robinson and then they had that one injured year and then they got Tim Duncan and then they dominated the league for like 20 straight years. So it's good and bad. Thank you, 49ers. You can't see this behind me, but this was for my birthday yesterday. I need to hold that up. Look at that. I can't really hold it up, but let me just get rid of my microphone there. Let me move this thing out of the way. This is really cool. There you go. Very cool. There you go. See? That is a Lund 49 jersey, and it's professionally done, not like all the cheesy stuff I have in my studio. Professionally done, sent over by the 49ers with a Lund 49 on it in a really cool frame. So I got to get professional in here to really hang that thing nice. But thanks to the 49ers organization, who I worked for years and still do and will. But I was doing pre-half and post for a number of years. Bob Sargent is their director of broadcasting. He's Papa's boss. And sent that over to him. So I got to get a text off to him. In fact, I got to go to a nice place. By the way, the place in Lafayette, I'll just tell you, it's called the Barrel Shop. It's incredible. I got to go over to the Barrel Shop because I know Bob likes his whiskeys and get a nice rare whiskey that, in fact, I have one of their bottles in here. I put it on my bar inside. I'll do it on Monday. But anyway, great place and a great. So great. Thank you for the 49ers for that. That was my thank you, 49ers. Debo trade, I didn't talk about. The Soto car for 22, I did a little bit earlier. So if you want to look at that, you can. Let me do one shameless plug here really, 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 really quickly and share my screen with you, which is always dangerous as I talk about because I have all these windows open and I'm like, oh boy, am I going to click on the wrong one? A while ago, because this Debo thing has gotten hot again. So I did this blog, and this is at johnlundunleashed.com, where I do blogs, put a fancy video with it. You can read all this stuff. So this was a couple of weeks or maybe 10 days ago, but it's still very appropriate and accurate and hasn't run out of discussion because it was like, oh, he's going to be released. No, he's going to be traded. So I wrote this piece maybe 10 days ago. So there's fancy videos and all that kind of stuff. It'll very much entertain you. But people who think he's going to be released, and I've said that Debo's going to be gone for a long time, and people have finally gotten around to it. We've been saying it all year on this show. But if you look right there where it says teams who need a wide receiver going into 2025, and this is why I think he's going to be traded and not cut. The Bills need one. Patriots need one. Ravens, Bengals, especially if T. Higgins leaves, needs it too. The Steelers never got their receiver after they couldn't get Ayuk. The Texans have major injuries, and I say right there, I would maybe call them the favorites because D'Amico Ryans is there. Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs is not coming back. Tank Dell has a major injury. The Chiefs, you saw that. DeAndre Hopkins is gone. They're not good. The Raiders need a receiver. The Chargers need a receiver. They have Ladd McConkey. That's it. By the way, put a pin in this one. I think that Devontae Adams is going to the Chargers, but we'll see. But they need one as of right now. The Cowboys have one offensive weapon on their whole team, and that's CeeDee Lamb. The Commanders need a second receiver. The Falcons need receivers. They got Drake London and at receiver. The Seahawks, I know you wouldn't want him to go there, and he probably won't when it comes to a trade, but Tyler Lockett is probably moving on. They've talked about DK Metcalf possibly being traded. So there's a lot of teams. And then I put right there the 5 most likely destinations for Debo. Texans, Commanders. Remember, Adam Peters was part of the front office for the Niners when they drafted him. He now runs the Commanders. So Texans, Commanders, Steelers never solved their issue at receiver last year, and George Pickens is really up and down, so they don't have much. Chargers I just mentioned, but I think Adams is going there, and then the Patriots never solved their issues. And while Debo wouldn't want to go there, the Patriots are so desperate for a receiver that they might extend him, and then he'd go, I'm listening. So anyway, points in saying all that, and you can check that piece out now. I don't mean to make you dizzy. That I did a little while ago at johnlundunleashed.com, and that still holds true right now. It's very different than Brandon Ayuk and what the landscape was last year when they couldn't get anything. And I'm not saying they're going to get a first-round pick for Debo or something. Devontae Adams went from the Raiders to the Jets for a third-round pick. So it might be something where, you look at that situation and Debo goes for a 5. Well, Kittle was a 5th-round pick. Greenlaw was a 5th-round pick. Afunga was a 5th-round pick. Like the Niners, if you want to go a key round for the Niners, since John and Kyle arrived, 5th round's pretty good. In fact, rounds 2 through 7, they're much more effective than they are in round 1 outside of Ayuk and Bosa. And Bosa, honestly, you get credit, but you kind of don't because he was the second pick and it was obvious. That was kind of an obvious pick. So that one wasn't as difficult. So Brandon Ayuk's the only other player since John and Kyle have been around that has reached a second contract. So they haven't been great in the first round. So you want to give me a 5th rounder or a conditional 4 or whatever for Debo rather than releasing him? Yeah, I'd do that. And for everybody that's worried about the number, the cap space and it's going to take a hit, the Jets are going to take $50 million on Aaron Rodgers. The Broncos took $50 million. Tasty. They ate $50 million on Russell Wilson. Teams do that more and more. I'm not saying the Niners are going to take that kind of a hit, but with the expansion of the salary cap, not to get all dorky and money on you, but it's $50 million over the last 2 years that it's gone up, $25 million this next year. The Niners are going to be able to get Brock Purdy done, take a hit on Debo, however they do it, redo Kittle, redo Warner. Warner's got a $29 million cap hit. That's not happening. They're going to be able to do the things they need to do, possibly get a Drew Dahlman or somebody like that in free agency, a couple of light free agency grabs, and they'll be able to afford that all under this deal because the cap has gone up so much. So I believe that they're going to be able to trade Debo rather than just release him. If they don't, you come back and you go, Lund, you're an idiot. That's cool. I can deal with that. But I think it's going to be more trade than just flat release. And the reason I say that is I just showed you at johnlundunleashed.com, there are a boatload of teams that need him. So if you're a team that's just waiting for him to be released, you're one of probably 10 or 12 teams that Debo would look at. And I know what you're saying, and I agree with you. Debo wasn't effective here. He was overweight here. It looked like, at least wearing the A.J. Brown jersey, it looked like it. So I don't know. And again, I'm sitting here in a glass house when talking overweight and throwing stones, and that's not cool. But look, I'm a media member, not a football player. So I can, I have a little bit of leeway that I have stretchy pants, as I often talk about, unlike what he does. He shouldn't have stretchy pants, and it looked like in the Super Bowl he did. I just took a personal shot. I shouldn't have done that. All right, what else do we got today? So there you go. Episode 68, Tolbert, birthdays, Warriors back, Wembanyama. Thank you, 49ers. Debo trade, Soto, Carr for 22. If you missed that, I did a little bit earlier on in the show. Brett Batty got a Chevy Tahoe, just stock Chevy Tahoe from Juan Soto for the number 22. I'd expect more. I mean, dude, you're making like $550, $560 million. Like, if you're going to buy me a Tahoe, which you didn't buy because it was just a straight, trade because you're an endorser, at least get me like some fancy wheels and like upgrade it, bro. Upgrade it. It was just a basic Tahoe. I mean, it's cool. And that somebody told me earlier that a Tahoe is like $60,000, which that's nothing to sneeze at. But I mean, it, probably should have been like a Mercedes or something high end, and it should have been tricked out and everything. But he was like, oh my God, I got to get him something for that 22. I know a Chevy dealer calls his agent gets him a stock Chevy, and the guy's, the guy's not angry about it, but still, you probably do better. That's all. Probably do better. All right, so that's it. Remember, Tolbert's show debuts on Monday. Make sure that you hit that up as well. And again, he joined us a little bit earlier. Not sure what time, but it's always going to be entertaining because Tommy always does. If you missed the interview with Tolbert, you can definitely check it out when I post it on Apple, Spotify. It is already posted at John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. We'll have it up later. We'll cut up some cuts as well on all my social media channels, so make sure you check those out as well. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything any more times. I looked at everything. I believe that we got everybody up that is, let's see, birthdays. Yep, we got birthdays up tomorrow. Old Fashioned on Me from Tacky. Very cool. Thank you for contributing to the show, everybody. Really appreciate it. Thank you for hanging out and listening to the Tommy interview. Another successful week. I'll have some great interviews for you next week. Got a bunch of stuff lined up. The NFL Combine is next week, so we'll do a bunch of stuff from there. The first Giants spring training game is on Saturday, so we'll talk some Giants next week. Warriors get back at it. They're back at it with Sacramento. And, of course, all the national stories, fun stuff, and we don't just do sports around here. Whatever entertaining, we are entertaining. So that's what we try to do. Thank you, Kenny Smith. That's not the Kenny Smith from TNT. He's a much better-looking man. Fantastic show. Land, you hit a home run. You might have said Lund, but dude, don't get me wrong. I'm totally fine with anything. I really appreciate you hanging out with me today. For anybody new in the room, we really appreciate it. All we ask is you go to YouTube, John Lund Unleashed, and you join us, johnlundunleashed.com, if you missed any of the archives or anything like that. And if I did not acknowledge you, I always do a roll call at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm looking at a lot of new people in the room. So welcome to everybody. Much appreciated that everybody hung out with us today. Make sure that you hit up the social media stuff. We'll repost some things for you. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, johnlundunleashed.com. Everybody have an amazing weekend. Have a great Friday night. No Saturday show tomorrow, but we'll resume that. So Monday at 8 a.m., I'll post a bunch of other stuff today. Tell all your friends and enemies to subscribe. Make sure that you got those alerts on as well. And make sure that you check out Tommy's new show on YouTube, Tolbert's new show on Monday. Everybody have an amazing Friday, and thanks for hanging out with John Lund.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye!